Get some help, Dave Torelli. Get some help, Dave Torelli. You shouldn't be judging fights. You should be in jail. In jail. Dave Torelli, get some help. Please. What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Louisville. And we have a 14-fight card here. And yeah, it's an interesting card. It's a lot of fights, but I think it's a fun card. We are in front of fans, so can't complain about that. Kind of tough to go from such a phenomenal main event last week to Rayanne Amanda versus Puja Tomar, but it is what it is. We got some fights to talk about today on a Sunday, and as always, I am here with your Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to Puja Tomar fight week?
Puja Tomar fight week, Brady. This is going to be a real treat for the folks in Louisville. They were figuring out how the UFC could pay back the city of Louisville for being such a supportive city, and they said, Puja Tomar, get her on the card, sign her 8-4 ass, and get her out there against Dynamo Rayanne Amanda. That's how we start off this card. And then if you're a matchmaker and you're starting off a card with Amanda versus Puja Tomar, the rest is just going to fall into place, Brady. I mean, because you've already just set it up perfectly. 13 other fights to talk about besides the Puja Tomar fight here. So we got a lot of work to do tonight here on Stat Diggers. I'm fired up for this one, man. It's a pretty good card. And anytime we're doing it in front of a live crowd, in front of us, in front of a city that's not Vegas and it's not the UFC Apex, I'm happy because there's going to be a little bit more cachet, a little bit more of the UFC trying. And there are some fun fights on this card that we're going to talk about. So let's find ways to make some money on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed. Like, I would have liked to see Liang Na versus Puja Tomar. Maybe give Liang Na a win in the UFC, but they cut her and she didn't get a chance to. But yeah, it's a very interesting card for sure. Coming off of UFC 302, which the card, I thought it kind of sucked. I thought it kind of blew below expectations until the main event. I thought the main event was phenomenal, but yeah, lots of decisions. These new gloves, man, I don't know. Maybe it's a new glove curse. We had 0 knockouts last night. I think 9 decisions, 3 submissions. I don't know if it's a new gloves or what, but yeah, not a very violent card, not a very exciting card overall. Like I said, outside of that main event, outside of that Kevin Holland fight, the Jalton fight was fun as well. And there were some other fun fights. I thought the Brown-Zaleski fight was pretty fun, but the Grant Dawson fight kind of sucked. The Matthews-Rowe fight kind of sucked. The Perez, Jaws, and Edwards fight was weird. The Lima Raposo fight was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. So kind of a up and down card from a fan perspective. From a betting perspective, tracked, I did about broke even. I think it went down 0.13 units, and I set myself up for a great spot. I was feeling good going into the main event. I was up 1.5 units going into the main event, and I had Islam sub. I had Islam in round 2, and round 3, and round 4. And like a jackass, I did not sprinkle the round 5. And what round does Islam get it done in? Round 5. So since if Islam would have won in round 2, it would have been a plus 4.5 unit night. If Islam would have won in round 3, it would have been a plus 4 unit night. If Islam would have won in round 4, it would have been a plus 3.5 unit night. Instead, it down 0.13 units. So that was annoying, but felt the read was there and was lucky to even get that sub late, I thought. So got the cash the sub, but didn't hit the 2, 3, or 4. But I'm not typically the untracked guy, but I had probably one of my better weeks untracked. On my website, I do a Hail Mary parlay, came out to plus 868, put a quarter unit on that. It was Jalton inside the distance, check. Kevin Holland inside the distance, check. Grant Dawson round 3 decision, check. Islam Makhachev by sub, check. So yeah, up over a little bit 2 units in that. And then on prize picks, I hit a nice 3-piece. Had Dustin Poirier more than 0.5 significant strikes. I was a little bit worried about that one, but he was able to get at least 1 significant strike. Grant Dawson less than 94.5 on the fantasy score. I'm going to keep attacking these grapplers on Prize Picks Wheezy for the fantasy score because on Prize Picks you get 0 points for control time, and Grant Dawson got 13 minutes of control time. So that soared less. And then they had Randy Brown 0.5 takedowns, which was a obvious less there as well. So Prize Picks was great. Had that nice Hail Mary parlay, did really good on DraftKings as well, and was like an Islam 2, 3, or 4 away from like a perfect night. Went 10-2 on picks. So overall, I'm happy with how last night went, other than the fights like sucking for the most part. Wheezy, how'd you enjoy the fights last night?
Yeah, they were all right. But I mean, I was just dying a slow death on my bets. So it was not very enjoyable for me to watch those fights because I wound up down 0.98 units. So just a little bit less than 1 unit. But like, I had the under 2.5 in the Cesar Almeida versus Kopylov fight.
Wait,
I had
Wheezy, did you know that Cesar Almeida beat Alex Pereira?
Yeah, I did hear that. How
Okay.
about that? Yeah.
All
He
right.
beat Alex Pereira. My pick was Kopylov by decision. And I'd love to say that the reason I picked Kopylov by decision was because I was just pounding the table saying, oh, this guy's going to wrestle. That is not why I picked Kopylov by decision, but that's why he got that decision win. He got a bunch of takedowns. Cesar Almeida's takedown defense was god awful. And every time Roman took him down, I just screamed at the TV because I was like, man, they were beating the hell out of each other on the feet. If Roman wasn't getting takedowns there, I think somebody would have gotten knocked out. But I just didn't foresee that many takedowns, that much control time for Cesar Almeida or for Roman Kopylov. I also had the under 2.5 rounds in the Price Morono fight. And dude, Alex Morono was completely dead after the second round. He could barely stand up, and it was pretty clear that Price was also tired, and Price just doesn't really have that power anymore. He wasn't anywhere close to getting Morono out of there. Even though Morono was probably looking for the door, he looked like he was on death's doorstep when he got off the stool after the second round. I also had fight doesn't go to decision for Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Randy Brown. They both got each other's backs. They were both close on a couple of chokes, but just couldn't find those violence bets. Dude, I had Grant Dawson by submission, Brady. And I mean, if Joe Selecki's game plan was to go out there and lose a dominant 30-27 decision, well then, I mean, God bless you, because you nailed it, Joe Selecki. Talk about just like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let him take me down, but then I'm not going to let him get my back, and I'm not going to get back up, and I'm going to lose a 30-27 decision. And he nailed it. So I was hoping Joe might show some kind of urgency, try to win the fight, to leave some kind of an opening for Grant so that Grant could get that submission. He did not, but it was a good day for your parlays, right? I mean, I parlayed Aylin Perez and Jailton Almeida's money lines. I also parlayed the over 2.5 rounds in the Strickland fight with the under 2.5 rounds in the Romanov fight. That hit. I had Jailton Almeida as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. That hit. That was a inside the distance bet as well. So Jailton made me a bunch of money. My parlays did really well, but every violence bet just crashed and burned a spectacular non-violent death, Brady, and we wound up down 0.98 units.
It was just a non-violent night last night. Just no violence.
Very non-violent. And even like I was surprised that Islam even got that submission in the 5th round. You know, that was surprising to me. That was a back and forth fight. Islam's wrestling was not as good as I expected it to be, Brady. It was he was kind of like half-heartedly going for single legs. I wasn't seeing him chain together takedown opportunities. It didn't look like he has I don't think he's got the cardio to chain wrestle like Khabib did. You know, I think Islam's a lot more reliant on winning minutes on the feet as well, because either he cuts too much weight to wrestle hard for 25 minutes, because you should be able to wrestle Dustin Poirier. That's the weak spot in his game, is that you can take this guy down and keep him down. And Islam just wasn't able to do it for as long as I thought he would be able to do it.
Yeah, Islam looked off for sure. I guess he came out today and confirmed the rumors about the staff. So all the Twitter doctors, they nailed it. Islam did indeed have staff, and he said he didn't train. I think he said like a couple of weeks. He took like a whole week off, something like that. Yeah, so he did have staff. The Twitter doctors were right. So shout out to them. Paulo Costa has not confirmed if he had staff though, so we'll see. But yeah, let's hit up the chat. And let's see here. And by the way, I want to say thank you all for last week. You guys showed a lot of support for the show, Stat Diggers, last week. Had, I think, one of our better shows of the entire year. I think in terms of views, I think it was like the second best, maybe even first best. It was really close of the entire year. Had a ton of comments. So yeah, appreciate all the likes, all the comments. If you guys are watching on the replay, leave a comment, preferably positive, preferably. But if not, then that's. But we'll take what we can get here on Stat Diggers. We got, well, first one in the building. Let's go, boys. Uncle Weezy and Brady is the best way to start the week. Let's crush these bookies with the best cappers. Appreciate you, Walt, coming in here nice and early. We got Olajuwon in the chat saying, after Lima Raposo scorecards, I was feeling really good about my Strickland split, plus 900, and Costa split, plus 2,200 tickets.
Wow.
Oh, what an event. Yeah, those are massive. Congrats on those. Yeah, after the first fight, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose all my money on this card, because what the heck was that? From the Mitch Raposo game plan to the judges. I mean, what was Mitch Raposo's game plan? There's some questionable game plans last night. His game plan was to go out there and just strike with Lima, and it was just terrible. And then on top of that, a judge scored the fight for Raposo. He didn't win a round, in my opinion. So that was one of the crazier scorecards I've ever seen. And then we got an even crazier scorecard in the co-main event where that bomb, what's his name, Dave Torelli, gave 49-46 to Paulo Costa. And these guys don't get held accountable. I mean, these guys, they need drug tested. They need their eyes checked or something. How do you come up with a 49-46 for Costa, giving him the first, second, third, and fourth round? It's crazy. The judges have always sucked, but it seems like more so right now they're sucking really bad. We got Joshua Frick, who has been a big supporter as of late, saying, hello, Brady. I know you're going to start this week on a good foot, even if you're late. And yeah, we were late for sure, but it's all right. Louisville is a dump. Why are they hosting a UFC event? I've never been to Louisville. Louise, you been to Louisville?
Never been there. Never been there. So I would have no idea. But I mean, I would like to go there. I'd check it out for sure. I've been to Memphis. Memphis is kind of a dump, but I've got some great Memphis stories, man. Like maybe a little story time with Uncle Weezy one other time about my Memphis story. But yeah, I've never been to Louisville before. It would be my first time if I had checked that out.
Yeah, maybe I'll check it out one day. I mean, I'm sure it's not a dump, but you never know. We have the biggest Cody Brundage hater I've ever seen. Dirk, it's every week he's saying Cody Brundage is a bum. Well, that bum.
Friend of the show, Cody Brundage. You know, he's a good guy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
But that bum, Cody Brundage, he did beat somebody on this card named Zachary Reese by first round slam knockout. We'll talk about that. We got my biggest fan in the building. We got Mark. What is up, Mark? Saying these judges, yeah, last night was just piss poor. You know, some of the worst scorecards I've ever seen. Agreed, Mark. I don't know what they're watching. I feel like they're not even watching the fight. We got Mushroom in the building. What is up, Mushroom? And then, yeah, there was this as well. I mean, this card was so weird. There was an official that acknowledged the two eye pokes, but then told him to fight. Yeah. And then Jason Herzog had to talk to the guy between the rounds, and he had to explain that, hey, eye pokes, they're not legal. Let's get it together. Like, come on. Where do they find these guys? And yes, Larry, I was late. I'm sorry. I had something to take care of before we started. How many times did I fall asleep during the event? 3 for me. None, but it got close in the Dawson fight, I think. I mean, that was a trash performance from Joe Selecki, like you said, Weezy. That was the definition of mailing it in and packing it in. And after the first 60 seconds, the fight was over. Shout out to Joe Selecki for surviving and losing a 30-27. Just a trash game plan. But again, shout out to Joe Selecki. You got the decision loss. We got Lou Betcher saying, Brady Weezy, this Morona Price fight is still, yeah, if it was 30 rounds, it would have went all 30 rounds because Morona was gassed after the first 5 minutes and Price couldn't finish him, man. I don't know. I mean, that fight was hard to watch because I had the under 2 Weezy and I loved that spot all week. And it felt like they were fighting and it felt like the fight was in slow motion. It felt like they were fighting underwater. It was like, you know, it felt like nobody was getting knocked out anytime soon in that fight. So I agree. It could have went 30, 40 rounds. Alex Morono is a bum. I don't think he's a bum, but I don't think he trained for the fight. Do you think he trained for the fight at all, Weezy? Didn't look
Well,
like it.
it was supposed to be Jeremiah Wells fighting Nico Price. So he did take the fight on short notice. And, it's wild, how sometimes you just see some guys, they come out there and they don't look like they've been training. So you never know what's going on in these guys' lives that when the phone rings, what's going on in your life that says like, all right, I need to take this fight. There might be, you might need the money. You might just need to get in that cage and get another paycheck, win or lose. And he got a losing paycheck there in a winnable fight. So it was interesting to see him that tired. It wasn't like that was a crazy high-paced fight. It just wasn't.
I don't know who had the worst performance. Alex Morona was definitely up there for worst performance of the night, along with Joe Selecki. But how about Alexander Romanov's performance? I mean, you would think with all that strength resistance training he was doing on the bands, he would at least have some resistance. He's doing all that resistance training. He'd have some resistance, but no. And by the way, what about Alexander Romanov's submission defense? His submission defense is giving up his neck and just he wasn't even fighting the hands. He was like this. That's
raise the chin. Raise the chin,
I'm like, what are you doing? Because I had the under big, but I had the fight ends by knockout. And then Alexander Romanov, it's like he wanted to get subbed. It was hilarious. All right, what else we got? And then we'll get into it, guys. Mitch Raposo's purse was so low that it was better business decision to take 30% of Lima's show and win. Yeah, I mean, that was, at least he got that 30%. And by the way, Lima is such a cheater. He cheated in his debut against Severino. He grabbed the cage 6 times. He cheated and missed weight by 5 pounds. He eye-poked Raposo several times, and then he grabbed the cage as well. Andrea Lima, I think, has taken the spot of pound-for-pound cheater. I think he passed up Priscilla Cachoeira, and he is currently pound-for-pound biggest cheater in the UFC. Congrats, Andre Lima. You are the biggest cheater I have seen in a while.
Dude, they're going to bring back the guy who bit him just to be like, he's less of a cheater than Lima. We will condone biting from now on as long as it's Andre Lima, the cheater, getting bitten.
Yeah, I mean, I love a guy with a nice hat, and he does, but I can't get behind all the cheating. I can't. And we got Glenn Bott with the 249. Appreciate you, Glenn Bott, saying we love you guys. We love you, Glenn Bott. Thank you for stopping by and supporting the show. I imagined Louisville is an upgrade from Newark. I would be shocked if it wasn't. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Brady, if you gave me a choice, you're moving to Louisville or Newark, it would be a very fast choice saying, Kentucky, here I come.
In an instant.
Yeah.
And I haven't even been there, but in an instant.
Yeah.
Romanov has no resistance to blocks of cheese. Okay. All right. Yeah, cheating is the best base in MMA. Cheaters, they always win. Romanov thought if he tapped, Almeida would win that round and they would go to the next round like Chael Sonnen. All right. So yeah, last night was wild. I wish we could talk about it all night, but we got to talk about Puja Tomar versus Rayanne Amanda. If you guys could, please like the video, subscribe here to the channel, go subscribe to Weezy's channel. Weezy, you're getting really close to like 3K subs, right? I think you're like...
I am, yeah, 3,000 subs on the channel almost. I think I'm about 50 away. Is it
50
that
away?
many?
There you go.
I don't know. It's 2,950 or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I can't believe we're almost at 3,000 subs. So time flies, man.
Heck yeah! So go sub to Weezy, and again, leave a comment. Do appreciate reading all the comments. Again, try to make it positive, but if it has to be negative, I guess do that as well. We got my guy, Joshua Frick, the guy that needs to get some help, and maybe he doesn't need no help no more because he said they took away the sponsors last dono, so had to do it again. Appreciate you, Joshua Frick, official sponsor of Stat Diggers, Joshua Frick. Shout out to Joshua Frick. Thank you, Joshua. All right, guys, we gotta get into it here. We gotta get into it, and we're going to start with Rayanne Amanda going against Puja Tomar. We got Rayanne Amanda, who is 28 years old, or 29 years old, or 28 years old. I can't read, dude. Something's wrong with my eyes.
Actually, she's gonna be. Wait, when's this? Her birthday is June 8th. When's this card? The
I think
7th? The
it's
8th?
June
You
8th.
fighting on her birthday?
I think she might be.
She's fighting on her birthday, and she's fighting Puja Tomar. Is she minus 13,000 on the
Wow.
money line?
Fighting on your birthday is super plus EV. So there we go. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, she is going to be 29 years old at fight time. How cool. She is 5'2" with a 62-inch reach. Puja Tomar. I'm sorry. Puja, she's so bad. Puja Tomar, she is 30 years old, 5'1". I don't know her reach. So anyway, Rayanne Amanda, she lost a close decision against Talita Alankar on the Contender Series. Prior to that, she did beat Julian DeCourcy, and she did lose to Denise Gomes on the Contender Series as well. That's correct, right? She's 0-2 on the Contender Series.
Who is
Amanda?
Amanda?
Yeah, I think at
Okay.
least.
I know she lost definitely to Denise Gomes on the Contender Series, and I think she won her next fight and then got a contract on the Contender Series.
Yeah, so she's 0-2. She lost to Alankar by split, and then she lost
okay.
to Gomes by split. She's been on there a couple times. So I guess they signed her off of a loss then. So yeah, and then as far as Tomar, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights against a bunch of bums. Okay, so yeah, gosh. Going into it, I've heard a lot of talk about Tomar, and people have been calling her a bum and all that. And I guess my expectations were like really, really low. And then I got into watching her, and I'm like, okay, she has okay striking. She throws with very bad intentions, but the ground game's non-existent. The level of competition has to be some of the worst level of competition I've ever seen. And she's going against Amanda, who, she throws with pretty bad intentions on the feet as well. Both these fighters are very aggressive when it comes to the striking. But I think the big advantage of Amanda and where she does win this fight is going to be on the ground. She is a black belt in BJJ. She doesn't go for takedowns as much as I really like to see. But I mean, this is a spot where if she gets on top of Tomar just seems kind of like a fish out of water off of her back. I've seen her get taken down easily, put into dominant positions, submitted, TKO'd, you name it. I think Amanda goes out there, takes this fight down to the mat, and gets either a positional TKO or a sub. Tomar, I believe, has been finished in all of her losses as well. So give me Amanda here. Amanda inside the distance. Why is she not minus 1,000? Because it's Rayanne Amanda, but I do think she should win this fight. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this mess?
Yeah, I mean, fighting on her birthday, fighting Puja Tomar, and according to my stats, Brady, Puja Tomar's got a 0-inch reach. 0 inches.
The worst reach ever.
So, I mean, like, how the hell does she win this fight? And yeah, so she's been fighting. Puja Tomar has been fighting in one championship, so it's a good regional scene organization, Asia regional scene. She gets armbarred by Tiffany Teo in the first round. She loses via triangle choke to Jihin Radzuan in the second round. She gets a win via split decision over Priscilla Gale. She gets ground and pounded in the first round by Stamp Fairtex. Another split decision win. And then she runs off 3 in a row. Tenzin Pema, 20 seconds, first round knockout. By win, first round knockout by punch, or second round knockout by punches, and then a corner stoppage after round 4 against Anastasia Feofanova. I don't know what she's doing here, dude. I mean, if somebody said in the they're trying to push her for an Indian audience. Do they need the Indian audience that badly? Because like I think Indian audience, I think they enjoy watching good fighters. That's why they would turn on the UFC. They can watch regional scene fighters at home. But I don't know what she's doing here, dude. I mean, she's all right on the feet. While this is on the feet, it should be a pretty fun fight.
Yeah.
They'll both swing with power. They'll both, try to take each other's heads off. But Rayanne should be able to take this girl down and destroy her on the ground if she can get the takedowns, because her ground game is terrible. Her ground game is terrible, Brady, on the regional scene. Like girls that would not be in the UFC, are submitting her. So, oof. I mean, this is a rough one. And I mean, Louisville, Kentucky. Is there a huge Puja Tomar contingent? Is she from like the Louisville of India? Why? I remember when I said that my notes on Tamaris Vidal were why. I mean, guess what my notes say about Puja Tomar at this point? It's why. Rayanne Amanda probably inside the distance via some kind of ground and pound or submission on the ground.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I'm trying to bring up I have these tickers on StreamYard, and I had a Y one unless I deleted it. Let's see. I can't find it. I have 1-800 Gambler, but
Yeah, that's a good one. This is kind of, well, I don't know. You might want to lay the juice on Rayanne Amanda here.
I have Get Some Help Jay Ellis, which I think is relevant. That's relevant.
Jay Ellis has over 100 losses, and I think he's lost to 4 people on this card, including Rayanne Amanda.
Why do I have
submitted them in the second round?
Why do I have Happy Halloween on there?
I don't know.
Get Some Help Claudio Poyas. That is relevant.
Yeah.
But I don't
around in a minute.
But I don't have why. Oh, there it is. Found it. There we go.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up right there. If we can do it in an economy of words, that's how we're doing it there. Why?
Yeah. Why? Just why? But yeah, let's take a look at these odds, Wheezy, and we have Rayanne Amanda. She opened up minus 180, currently minus 220, and then Puja Tomar opened up plus 155, currently plus 185. The over/under is set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 175. The under 2.5 is plus 145. The under 2.5 actually opened up at plus 240, which is a crazy line considering Tomar has been finished in all of her losses. So yeah, maybe I will bet on this. Maybe like a Amanda inside the distance for me. But that's about it, I think. Yeah, Amanda inside the distance. If I get a good line on that, I'll take it, I think. Or Amanda by sub. So yeah, I think she has 8 subs, by the way. So 8 subs and 14 wins. So maybe like a sub and inside the distance, but I do think she wins this fight pretty dominantly.
I agree, man. I was pretty shocked when I watched Puja's tape, because I was like, well, she might be pretty good, and she's lost to decent girls. So I was like, all right, maybe I'm going to see something. I haven't watched her wins yet, but they're against not good fighters, so I don't know what it means. Yeah, Rayanne should get a win here.
Yeah, and in terms of her recent win, she's been like knocking out these bums, and she has some power, but I don't know. Kentucky has the second highest Indian population in the USA. Well, I guess you learn something new every day. Happy Halloween, because the man needs to put. Why would she need to put a mask on? She's a very good-looking lady.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think she needs to put a mask on.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Chuck Buffalo by TK was the best bet on the card. Now that I know him, or nothing, but to each their own. What was his name? Yeah, Chuck Buffalo, TKO against, who was that?
Urbina.
That was the best bet of that card. I think me and you were both on that.
We were both on that, and I got waxed on that card. Thank God Chuck Buffalo cashed me one bet on that card. It was the only one. Everything else was horrible that week.
We got Mr. Ed checking in from X. What is up, Mr. Ed? He says, Amanda got a few arm bars on the record. Yes, she does. And Tomar has 2 losses by it. Seems like the best path for sub. I can see it. Handsome woman. They're all right. And let's see. What is none of these fighters have an OnlyFans, right, Dixon? And by the way, OnlyFans they've been on a roll as of late. They've been on a roll. What's her face last night got it. Eileen Perez got it done. So, all right, let's move on to the next fight, Wheezy. And we have Taylor Lapilus going against Cody Stamann. We have Cody Stamann, who's 34 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach. Lapilus, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 73-inch reach. It is going to be Lapilus, who's 2 years younger. It's going to be the same height there, and it's going to be Lapilus with a much bigger reach advantage. I think like a 9-inch reach advantage for Taylor Lapilus. So Cody Stamann, he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Murad Dvalishvili. Submission loss to Saidnur Magomedov, knockout win against Eddie Wineland, decision win against Luan Lacerda, and then a decision loss against Douglas Silva de Andrade. As far as Taylor Lapilus, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a little stint in the UFC. I think he went like 3-1. He got cut after going, 3-1. He comes back against Colin Loughran, wins that fight by decision. and then he loses a tough fight against Farid Basharat. So, yeah, for me, I think it's a. Let me get this Y off the screen. We're not talking about Tomar anymore. So for me, I think it's a pretty solid matchup for Taylor Lapilus here. Taylor Lapilus, his takedown defense is very good. His get up game is even better. And I was looking through Cody Stamann's record. Like since 2020, Cody Stamann I think has like 7 or 8 fights, only 5 takedowns in those 7 or 8 fights since 2020. Like he's a good wrestler. It's just he doesn't really use it that much. And when I was thinking if he does use it here, which I think he should, he's at a 9-inch reach disadvantage. Is he going to be able to take down Lapilus? And more importantly, will he be able to control him? And more importantly, will he be able to do much damage? Because as we know, actually, we don't know. We don't know what the hell the judges are looking at, but they're supposed to be looking at damage. So I think, Lapilus with this 9-inch reach advantage should have the takedown defense, the get up game to do the better work on the feet. But this is a fight that I heavily favor going the distance. And when we're talking about laying minus 200 on a fight that's going the distance, it's terrifying because last night, Andre Lima clearly won the fight. It was the most 30-27 performance I've ever seen, and a judge scored the fight the other way. Sean Strickland won the fight. It was the most probably 49-46 at worst fight I've ever seen, and somebody scored the fight for Costas. So Taylor Lapilus, I think he's going to win, but who the hell knows with these judges? So I would just be cautious with that. The judges are sucking so bad, but I like Taylor Lapilus here to win this fight by decision. I think the reach and the striking is going to be too much here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of Taylor Lapilus and his skill set. His striking is phenomenal. He's a southpaw. He's got great kicks, great distance management. He really knows how to win minutes at distance striking range, and he really knows how to stop takedowns and keep the fight standing. We've seen him in his last 2 UFC fights against Keelan Loughran and Farid Basharat. Really see a ton of takedown attempts, but Farid had to absolutely sell out for the takedowns to have any chance to win that fight. And what's kind of funny about that fight is if you view that through the lens that we've seen mostly lately, which is that, damage over control, scoring criteria. I mean, I think that fight was about as 50-50 as it gets, because even though Basharat did get a lot of takedowns and control time, he did absolutely nothing with it. So Cody Stamann, I don't think we've seen that kind of commitment to wrestling in any particular fight like we saw last time from Farid. And that's what Farid had to do. And Farid didn't get tired. It was a great performance by Farid Basharat against a really tough and experienced opponent in Taylor Lapilus. So I am somebody that thinks that Taylor's a very good fighter. He definitely deserves to be here. I think that he's a great fighter in a great division that's absolutely stacked with talent. So Cody Stamann is a little bit older than this guy, about 2.5 years older. He's not going to have these measurables advantages that Lapilus has. And Lapilus' ability to manage distance with those kicks, Brady, it's going to make it so difficult for Cody to close distance here. So I think Taylor Lapilus by decision is going to be a pretty good way to go here, because we've never seen Cody Stamann knocked out in his career. And Taylor Lapilus is not one that's going to go out there and offensively wrestle, really. I mean, maybe a club and sub for Lapilus, but I mean, I really do think that this one sees the scorecards. The bookies think the exact same thing. I mean, the under 2.5 or the over 2.5, juice to the tits. So I think Lapilus by decision is the way that this one's going to play out.
Yep, I'm seeing it the same way. Somebody in the chat said it may be like a Darce. He does have those very long arms, like something like that. If Cody Stamann shoots in, hurt, something like that. But I think more than likely, I'm with you. It does go the distance, and the odds makers certainly agree. The over 2.5 is minus 350, and the under 2.5 is plus 275. And we got Lapilus sitting as a minus 210 favorite, and Cody Stamann is sitting at plus 180. Like I said, I like Lapilus in this matchup. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for him. But in a fight that I do heavily favor to go the distance, it's kind of scaring me off a little bit. So yeah, maybe Lapilus by decision, maybe the double chance, maybe the decision submission, something like that. But maybe might get to a bet on Lapilus. We'll see. Any thoughts on the total here for you, Weezy? It's completely juiced to this over.
Yeah, I mean, it might even be a parlay piece, to be honest with you. The way I see this fight playing out stylistically is just decision, like 8 or 9 times out of 10, because neither one of these guys is just spark and hose. You know what I'm saying? They don't have this one punch knockout power. It's very rare to land shots like that in this division. So, yeah, I think decision is the way to go. I think the over 2.5 hits, but it's a lot, dude. Minus 350 for a men's over that's juiced.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. And we got Cody Stamann on a 1-year layoff, Brady.
Yep. 1 year and 3 days. Didn't someone give the fight to Caesar? Did a judge score the fight for Cesar Almeida? Was that a split? I forget.
I don't think it was a split, but I'm on UFC stats. Let's see how they listed it. That was a split decision.
I left the room because I was kind of pissed.
Chris Lee scored it for Cesar Almeida. D'Amato had it 30-27 Kopylov. Cologne had it 29-28 Kopylov.
Okay. I mean, Kopylov round one, and he won round 3. And somebody scored it for Almeida? What?
Yeah, it was Chris Lee.
You could give Almeida round 2, I thought. But certainly not round 1 or round 3, I thought. So that seemed like a pretty clear 29-28. So Chris Lee, he's been doing better, but that one's a head scratcher there. And Dixon, he might have caught you here, Wheezy. Wheezy only likes Lapilus because he's been to Paris. He has a point.
Several times, man. Paris is beautiful, and yeah, just like Taylor Lapilus is striking and takedown defense, Paris is a beautiful city, So
yeah, Lapilus has this one in the bag. I would like to believe so. And yeah, he was off a year. And has he been hurt? I'm not sure. I don't know what he's been up to. I'm not sure. And decision, yeah, both these guys are certainly decision guys. Chris Lee sucks. Yeah, I think he sucks, but he's been doing better. He's still horrible. He's still horrible, but he's been doing better. I think it's an upgrade. Now I got to worry about this Dave Torelli guy. I mean, this guy should be in jail for what he did last night. And yeah, he's been doing better. All right, Wheezy. We'll move on to the next fight. We have Eduardo. I need like somebody to help in the back. I'm all around. But we got, as far as I'm concerned, Eduardo Moura going against Denise Gomes. We have Eduardo Moura, who is 30 years old, 5 foot. Wait a second.
There's no way she's 5'6".
I messed it up. I did the pictures wrong. Dang it.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I must have been fried, dude. I put Denise Gomes as, oh my gosh. Embarrassing. I'm going to fix that, and then I'll put it back up. Oh, gosh. It's been a long day. I mean, watching tape on Tomar really takes a lot out of you. I probably lost a couple of years off my life watching her. It was like a 40-minute video of Tomar tape. So cut me a little bit of slack. Anyway, we have... Let me just go over here to this. Okay, there we go. We have Eduardo Moura, who is 30 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. Denise Gomes, 24 years old, 5'2" with a 63-inch reach. We have Gomes, who's 6 years younger. It's going to be Moura with a 4-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Eduardo Moura, she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She got a submission win on the Contender Series, and then she went out there and TKO'd poor Montserrat Ruiz in the second round. And as far as Denise Gomes, she made her debut against, was it Brazil? I think it was Brazil. Or was it Loma? I think it was Loma. Yeah, it was Loma. So she had her Contender Series win against Rayanne Amanda, and then she lost to Loma Lukbunmi by decision in her debut. She knocked out Brunno Brazil, and she knocked out Yasmin Jaregui, and then she lost to Angela Hill by decision. I actually think this is a pretty fun fight, Wheezy. I like both these fighters quite a bit. Both fighters are, Denise Gomes, she's still young. I still think she's very green, but she's fun to watch. She's dangerous. And then Eduardo Moura just seems like a complete beast once the fight hits the ground. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this one while I fix my mistake on some of these graphics?
Yeah, man, this is a great fight, dude. This is the kind of fight that winds up on these regional cards where you have a live audience. They're not necessarily the biggest names in the division, but you put Moura and Gomes together and you've got a firefight here. This is a great fight. Gomes has got a ton of bases for MMA, which is a woman with a neck tattoo. And when you put those two things together, you're going to get a lot of wins at this weight class because you don't see a lot of females with neck tattoos and power, right? Because Montserrat Ruiz has a neck tattoo, but she doesn't have power. And we saw how that worked out for her against Eduarda Moura when they fought. And Gomes has got the death touch. I mean, like those wins over Brunno Brazil, and in particular, Yasmin Jauregui are very, very impressive wins. And they show that she has the ability to do something that not a lot of strawweights do, which is finish you with one shot because she has that real power. But Eduarda Moura is scary, dude. Now, I didn't bet against her, but what I did was I bet the over 2.5 rounds in that Ruiz Moura fight because I said to myself, Moura's been crushing cans. There's no real tape on her. She's kind of going through these hoes in like 4 minutes. So what happens if it gets extended? What happens if she gets nervous? What happens if she has an adrenaline dump? Well, we didn't find out the answers to any of those questions because she went out there and beat 7 shades of shit out of Montserrat Ruiz, and it was ugly, Brady. I mean, it was one of the worst ass beatings that I've ever seen. And poor Montserrat Ruiz really took it on the chin that day, man. I mean, rest in peace to your Uncle Wheezy's over 2.5 rounds bet there. Definitely one of the worst bets that I've made, and there have been a few. So this Moura woman is so fucking scary when she gets you down, dude. She's landing massive ground and pound. She's mean. She's got a submission game, and she's clearly on vitamins. Strong vitamins. The same kind that you would see somebody like her teammate, Jailton Maladino Almeida taking. And Brady, or you hear Maceo there in the background. Maceo has an affinity for women with neck tattoos, and he is picking Denise Gomes to win this fight and maybe land a big shot. But what I do like here, Brady, give me that under 2.5 at plus 114. I just kind of feel like this is striker versus grappler, that both of these ladies are nasty finishers. 75% finish rate for Gomes as a pro, 90% finish rate for Moura as a pro. When this is on the feet, Denise is going to be live to land a big shot, and when this is on the ground, Moura is going to be live for a submission or a ground and pound knockout.
Yeah, I mean Bootsy's not Bootsy. Oh, what's his name?
Maceo.
My bad. It was used to Bootsy. Rest in peace.
Yeah, we're used to Bootsy, right? But
I know.
It's off. I'm gonna go check on him here while you talk.
All right, so yeah, we have Eduarda Moura is the favorite. She opened up minus 115. She's currently minus 65 now. And then Denise Gomes opened up minus 115, and she is currently a plus 145 underdog. And the over/under is set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 is minus 146, and the under 2.5 is plus 116. Let's see what we got in the chat here. I can't pull up that comment, Silent Rob. I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. Larry's saying, I'm just going to bet the overs for these WMA fights this weekend. I don't know if I would do that, man. I think this Moura fight could finish. I think the Tomar fight could finish. But I do think that we'll talk about the Lee De La Rosa fight does go over. Let's see what else we got in the chat. We got Call Me Husker in the building. What is up? Dave Torelli was on acid last night. That would make sense. I've never tried acid, but that would certainly make sense. The fight ends in herpes. Gosh, I don't know about that. Let's see here. Let's go. Dogs are barking for Denise Gomes. Maybe. Weezy, what are you thinking about this total? Plus 116.
Yeah, I love it. I think I'm going to bet that for one unit. If it's plus money, I think just stylistically, you got Moura 9 out of 10 finishes, Gomes 6 out of 8. So they're both, but you know what? Denise Gomes has been knocked out once, but it was not in the UFC. So, their durability might hold up. That's the thing. It looks like Denise Gomes is really tough. And Moura looked phenomenal in her debut. So I'm really looking forward to this one. But if I had to play one side here, it would definitely be that under.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's keep moving on. We have the next fight. It is Daniel Marcos going against John Castaneda. We have Daniel Marcos, who is 31 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. John Castaneda, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 71-inch reach. Daniel Marcos, 1 year younger, with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. We have John Castaneda, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Eddie Wineland, a submission win against Miles Johns, a knockout loss to Daniel Santos, a decision win against Moin Gafarov, and then a decision win against Kung Ho Kong. As far as Daniel Marcos, he is 4-0-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. He had a decision or knockout win in his debut, second round against Saman Oliveira, a decision win against Davey Grant, and then that no contest against Richie Long in a fight where he was looking really good early. I think there was an eye poke, and then Richie Long looked for a way out, ended up being a no contest there. So yeah, this is one of the closer fights on the card. We have a couple of fights on the card where they're like straight pick'ems at the moment, and this is one of them. It's a kind of a tough fight for me because I like both these guys quite a bit. Daniel Marcos, undefeated, 15-0, really good striker, good takedown defense. Love the variety he has on the feet. But John Castaneda, this guy's a dog. He has that dog in him. He has a lot of power. Wrestling background as well. So yeah, a lot of reasons to like both guys here. I think that's why we're getting a close line, Weezy.
Agreed. Yeah. With Castaneda, you got the more experienced guy. You've got the guy with the 2-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter against an orthodox fighter. That's an advantage on paper. A little more UFC experience as well. 3 more UFC fights, about 40 more minutes of UFC cage time. And then prior to that, he's fighting in Combate, which is one of the top regional scene organizations in the Americas. And he's getting good fights there in Combate as well. So Castaneda is a well-tested athlete. He's a very talented boxer. He's a very good wrestler, and he mixes it all together really well. He finds ways like the way he got that takedown in the 3rd round of a very close Gafarov fight to seal that one on the scorecards. Out wrestling a Tajikistani Sambo guy. Very impressive. The way that he switches stances and cuts angles and goes in and out when he's boxing. He's very good, and he's got a lot of power in those hands too. And while Marcos definitely is a lot more one-dimensional, in my opinion, that he's going to rely on his striking and just use his grappling in reverse to keep fights standing, I think Castaneda it potentially, could be just as good of a striker as Marcos. He's got the reach. He's going to switch stances a little bit more often, and he's got good movement, just like Marcos does as well. I like Marcos's low leg kicks. That guy really has some nice calf kicks. He does great work with those. And the takedown defense is 100%. He's doing a really good job of keeping fights standing and using his boxing to win minutes and moments. He's landed a knockdown. He has a win by KO. And he does flash some power as well. So I think this line is about where it should be. But I think I'm going to pick Castaneda because I could see John getting some takedowns here. I could see him, in a close round, 3.5 minutes in, getting a takedown and maybe finishing the round on top, or maybe doing some damage while Marcos gets back to his feet. John just does a really nice job, Brady, of kind of like wrestling when you don't expect him to. It's there in his back pocket the entire time, and he's always thinking of when to use it. And he seems to have a really good idea of when the best time is to do it and how to win minutes with it. So definitely like Castaneda to win this one by decision. I think these guys are really well matched. This is another one of these fights, Brady. You're going to get fights like this when the UFC tries, when they have to impress a live audience. And when you have cards like this, you go to the bantamweight division because you've got a stack of guys that aren't necessarily top 15 guys, but they're studs. And you can match up a bunch of them against each other and come up with a lot of great fights. And this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, this is a good fight. I think you're right. They're trying. It is a very well-matched fight. Looks like we have Castaneda opened up plus 104. He's now minus 114. Daniel Marcos opened at minus 134. He's now minus 106. So yeah, about a pick 'em. Looks like money is coming in on Castaneda. It looks like that might be the trend a little bit. And yeah, I agree. I think he's more well-rounded. I think he's absolutely the guy that's going to be able to mix in takedowns. Do you know if he does have a wrestling background? He wrestled in high school, college, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. State of Minnesota, Castaneda, I believe, might have. I know he wrestled in college and in high school,
Oh,
so
nice.
he might have went down state in high school. I think he was Mankato State or something in Minnesota. There, Castaneda he's from Minnesota.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Marcos is low volume. He can be at times. Like I thought that Davy Grant fight wasn't the best, but your mom's favorite. I like Castaneda by decision. Oh, we got the Golden Octagon saying, actually catching a live stream. I hope everyone beats the bookies with a bag of oranges last night. Got close. I got close. I was very close to completely beating them with a bag of oranges. Had Islam won in the second, third, or fourth round. He won in the fifth. So it was almost a monster night, but it is what it is. Hopefully you did well, Golden Octagon.
It's funny you say that because my man Matt, he DM'd me last night. He showed me a ticket where $5 would have won a couple of thousand, and the last leg was Makhachev by submission rounds 2, 3, or 4.
Dang, why did he do that?
But Matt had a big night though. He still hit another. I think he might have either cashed out of the parlay somewhat, or he wound up having a big night. But he would have had an absolutely gigantic night if it would have been a second, third, or fourth round submission by Makhachev.
Dang, yeah, I was right there. Islam Aesthetics made it great. I was living on the edge. Yeah, me and Weezer were talking about that last night. It's like I loved Islam inside the distance, but it was like minus 300. So when it's so juiced like that, then you got to pick a round. And I did pick a round, and I got it wrong. I picked 2, 3, or 4. I faded round 1, which was good, but it happened in round 5. So close, but not quite there. And Elijah, of course, you had Elijah won the sub 5 plus 22. I didn't even bother with the sub 5 because I thought if it got the sub 5 or to round 5, that it wouldn't finish at all. Did Marone screw anyone else this weekend? It sounds like he screwed a lot of people. It sounds like people like lost full card parlays because of Marone. Like that was like the one leg that didn't win because I think most of these favorites won. But Morona was like the one favorite that didn't win. He didn't screw me from a money line perspective, but he did screw me in terms of I had the under, and I think I actually kind of lean more towards Price kind of screwed me because Price wasn't able to finish against Morona. So I did get screwed in that fight overall for sure. And Dylan saying, Weezy's correct. John wrestled at Minnesota State Mankato.
Yeah, it's like one of these cities in Minnesota. You know, like how some state schools they'll have like 4 different states. You know, they'll be in University of Wisconsin, for instance. There's Platteville, there's Milwaukee, there's I don't know, but there's like some schools have more than one state school, so to speak.
Yeah, get some help, Alex Morono. I mean, this is a guy that he's always accepting short notice fights. He's like the short notice king. But I don't remember him ever looking that terrible, ever. So you get some help. Get some help. My gosh. All right. I think we can move on, Wheezy, to the next fight. Did we talk about the total at all? I don't think we did. So the over is minus 186. The under is plus 156. I would lean towards this going over, but I think these guys are going to stand and swing a little bit.
The data loves the under at plus 156. It's a trifecta bet on my betting model with 33% of savings between the 3 metric comparisons. So plus 156 for a Castaneda Marcos underpriced according to the data. But I got a feeling this one's going over as well, man. You know, it's all the data is one thing, but then the stylistic read of how this fight's going to play out it has to play into your capping as well. And in this one, I think I might just stay away.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna try their best to make that under hit, but both guys have shown really, really good durability. So yeah, I don't know. I might stay away from the total. All right, Weezy, we'll move on to the next fight. Then we have Andrea Lee going against Montana De La Rosa. We have Andrea Lee, 35 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Montana De La Rosa, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We have Montana is 6 years younger with a 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Andrea Lee is 1-4 in her last 5 fights, a knockout win against Cynthia Calvillo, and a fight where she quit, a decision loss to Viviane Araújo, a decision loss to Macy Barber, a decision loss to Natalia Silva, then a decision loss against Miranda Maverick. As far as Montana De La Rosa, she is 1-3 and 1 draw in her last 5 fights. Had a draw against Mauro Bueno Silva, had a knockout win against Ariana Lipsky, a decision loss to Macy Barber, a submission loss to Tatiana Suarez, and then a decision loss against JJ Aldrich. Like, who cares about this fight? If you care about this fight, let me know, because I certainly don't, Weezy. I feel like this is one of those fights where it's like, I feel like I've broken this down before. It's just one of those, like, we've talked about both these fighters so much. This is another pick'em fight. I don't know who's going to win. The judges are going to screw it up and get it wrong anyway. I don't know what's going to happen here. As far as the pick, I ended up picking De La Rosa for a couple reasons. She's plus money. The other reason is that I think she will be able to take down Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee just folds like a lawn chair every time somebody tries to take her down. But on the feed, it's all Andrea Lee. So I don't know, Weezy. I doubt I touched this fight at all. But do you care about this fight at all? Because I really don't.
It's not that I don't care about who wins and stuff like that. It's just that as a gambler, how the hell do you have a strong read on who's going to win this fight? Really? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's going to decision.
Yeah, it is.
This thing's going to be like a minus 500 for the over 2.5 by the end of the week. So, and you have somebody like Lee, who probably beat Macy Barber, but wound up losing that in the scorecards. I mean, like, Andrea Lee's in a lot of pretty close fights. The Araujo fight, she came close to finishing it early, but then she got dominated in the second and the third. And Montana De La Rosa's got that wrestling background. She can definitely win minutes on the ground. Also, Brady, she's 6 years younger than Andrea Lee. So, both of these ladies are on rough streaks right now. 3-fight losing streak for Montana. 4-fight losing streak for Andrea Lee. So, but Montana De La Rosa is 29 years old and Andrea Lee's 35.
Wait, Weezy.
Huh.
So you know how I said I feel like I've broken down this fight before and I feel like I've watched this before? They actually did fight before, so I'm not completely crazy.
Are you serious? They have? I didn't even know that they did. I
completely forgot about it. So yeah, they fought back in 2019 on the Moicano Korean Zombie card, and looks like
split decision, right?
Yeah, looks like it was a win for Andrea Lee. Looks like De La Rosa took her down 5 times, controlled her for about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or 3 minutes and 57 seconds, but it was Lee that did the better work on the feet. So these fighters have fought before.
Yeah, and that would have been when Montana was like a pure grappler. I think her striking may have taken the next step. I mean, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but then again, it's not like Andrea Lee's got phenomenal striking for this division either. So this is a good coin flip, man. I think it's going to wind up being a very close fight that goes to decision. The judges are going to get involved. And if the judges get involved in a close decision, do you want money on it? I know I don't want my money on it.
Oh God, no. I don't want Dave Torelli screwing me over, or Chris Lee. I don't want that. But yeah, it's a dog or pass fight for me with like little to no confidence there. Montana De La Rosa plus 105 looks good to me. Daniel Castro does not care about this fight. Yeah, it's the rematch that absolutely nobody asked for. And if you ask for this fight, something's wrong with you. This is going the distance. Bet the fight ends by split. Agreed. Nobody cares. You can skip it if you want. Paul thinks it's a cool fight. It could be a cool fight. I actually don't mind either of these fighters, but I don't know. It's just a fight I don't see myself getting involved in. Let's see. So the odds. We have Andrea Lee opened up minus 115, currently minus 120. Montana De La Rosa opened up minus 115, currently plus 100. I'd be fairly surprised if we got a lot of line movement on this fight this week, just because I feel like nobody's going to be betting on this fight. And I feel like it's hard to have like a strong take on this fight as well. So I feel like this line's probably going to stay around to pick them all week, if I had to guess. I mean, I'd be shocked if there were strong opinions on this one. So the over-under is set at 2.5 rounds. Weezy is correct. The over is completely juiced to minus 400, and the under 2.5 is plus 300. Yeah, it's a total pass for me. Maybe, yeah, it's a pass, man.
Pass.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's two extremely good-looking ladies who are going to get in a cage in their underwear and fight. So the Louisville crowd is going to be raucous. They're going to be enjoying it. That's why.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we can just move on to the next fight. And this is another big giant. Why? Why is Brad Katona minus 550? I thought I've never seen the day, but here we are. We got Brad Katona going against Jesse Butler. We have Brad Katona, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach. We have Jesse Butler, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Brad Katona, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision win against Cody Gibson, a decision loss against Garrett Armfield in a very close fight. And then as far as Jesse Butler, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Jim Miller and got just brutally knocked out in like the first 30 seconds of that fight. It was kind of hard to watch. Yeah, there's not really much to say here. I think Brad Katona is absolutely the better fighter. I don't think that's debatable. I think Brad Katona is actually really good. I think he's really good. Has a really good skill set. I think his striking is very underrated, but he is a wrestler. He has good control. He's a great fighter, but seeing minus 550 next to Brad Katona is certainly disgusting. But I think that just goes to show you that Jesse Butler probably does not belong here in the UFC. And quite frankly, like this is going to be Brad Katona's easiest fight, I think, in a while. So yeah, this should be Brad Katona. And I don't know, because could Brad Katona, the decisionator, could he finish this guy, Jesse Butler? I'm not sure, but yeah, give me Brad Katona. I think he gets it done. Just not sure how. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight? Are you parlaying Brad Katona at minus 550 this week?
No, I'm not. I mean, like that would just be awful.
Oh.
I told people not to parlay Brad Katona at minus 300 last time out against Garrett Armfield. As a matter of fact, I didn't cash a bet on Garrett Armfield, but like I remember having a great cash lineup because Garrett Armfield was in my DraftKings lineup because I was like, well, Brad Katona can't finish a banana. So he's not going to finish, going to get 15 minutes out of Armfield and it's going to go to the scorecards. And then once it goes to the scorecards, anything can happen. That was my breakdown for that fight. And that's my breakdown for this fight. Brad Katona's finished 3 fights by submission. He's got 16 pro fights, Brady. He's got 1 knockout. 1. And he's not really a submission artist either. I mean, he is 3-0 to the submission as a pro. He's never been finished. But Jesse Butler's never been submitted as a pro, and he's been knocked out twice. Katona can't squash a grape, let's face it. And this fight's probably going to decision. And if you're fine with your butthole puckered up, parlaying minus 550, Brad Katona, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not a good idea to. This is a very easy stay away from me, Brady, because, it's like one of these things where you're not really like nobody's that jazzed about betting on Brad Katona to get his line to minus 550. What are they doing? They're betting against Jesse Butler. That's why this line is minus 550, because Brad Katona should not have a minus 550 next to his name anytime, because he's a guy that fights within the margins, within those margins where the judges could give it to the other guys. So yeah, Brad Katona by decision's the pick. And I will not be laying minus 250 this week on Brad Katona by decision.
So one thing to mention is this fight is at bantamweight, which is kind of wild considering Jesse Butler's fought as high as welterweight and has 0 bantamweight fights. And his last fight was at lightweight. So what's going on there? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think he's a featherweight mostly, though. I think he does fight at featherweight. And, he's probably, now that he's in the UFC, probably the time to try to make that weight cut, see if you could be much bigger than your opponents. Because, look, he's going to be 4 inches taller and have an 8.5-inch reach advantage here. So, I mean, there is some reason to like Butler. He's the bigger guy, and he's fighting Brad Katona.
Yeah, he could be the worst fighter in the UFC at the moment. Oh, just kidding. Weston Wilson's gonna be fighting next week, so he's the second worst in the UFC roster right now. So yeah, it's Brad Katona, but minus 550, not much you can do. Gas agreeing. Why? Elijah one saying Katona's season. Because it's Jesse Butler. Hey, that's a fair point. Can't argue that.
Yeah.
Katona via unanimous decision, but Butler is massive. He fought at 155, and now he's cutting to 135. Yep, going to be his first weight cut to 135. Let's see how he does. And by the way, I think on DraftKings now you can bet on fighters to miss weight, and maybe Butler to miss weight at big plus money could be something interesting. As I know, some people cashed the Andre Lima to miss weight. And it would be cool if you could bet on how much they're going to miss weight for. Andre Lima misses weight by 4 pounds plus a couple thousand would be pretty cool. But yeah, we'll see if he makes weight. We'll have to look on Friday. And yeah, Dixon saying here, Butler about to pull an Andre Lima and come in 5 pounds overweight. Why not? I mean, why not? Katona at minus 550. No thanks. Where do you guys watch the old fights and study tape? Fight Pass, ESPN Plus for the more recent ones, and then YouTube as well are my top 3. And then there's a couple other websites as well, but some they get a little sketchy. And that might be why my computer's acting up as of late, actually. Jasmine Jazz the Vicious could finish Butler, not Brad. It's a good point. Jasmine Jazz the Vicious could probably finish Jesse Butler. I'm half joking. Katona's hometown is where I'm from. Where's that? Is that
Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, probably, because I think that's where Brad's from. People think he's Irish. He's not. He just moved out there to train. He's from the flat, cold plains of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
There you go. Shout out to Brad and Katona, and shout out to Elijah one as well. We got Blaze Towns, a fan. Glad I can catch you guys live. Glad you could as well, and as well with the other 410 of you guys here. Appreciate all the support, guys. I think this is a new record, Weezy. Last week we had a new record for live viewers, and I think we beat that tonight for UFC Louisville. I think people are all pumped up about Tomar.
Louisville, Kentucky, stand up. Puja, Tomar, stand up. Jesse Butler's on this card, Brady. I mean, it's just going to keep getting better. And now we're going to start talking about the Valley Flow striking product. One Chuck Buffalo, Charles Radke, going up against the Fighting Nerds product in Carlos Prates. This is going to be a banger.
Let's go. It actually is going to be a banger. I'm looking forward to that one. Next Lima fight. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bet that point deduction. I almost bet it last night. We were talking
about plus 1,700. They give you 2,000 on every other point deduction. There were people onto that Lima point deduction for sure.
And he probably should have got a deduction. He clearly grabbed the cage, and the ref didn't do anything about it. So, yeah, I will be betting the point deduction next time he fights. I always bet on cheaters to cheat, and it's a good plus EV move there. All right. Last question here. Would you guys rather see Islam versus Leon or Islam versus the winner of Leon Bilal or Arman Sarukian? I think I'd rather see the Arman fight, and then I would like to see the winner of Leon Bilal. I want to see him fight Arman first, that rematch. I think it'd be a good fight.
Yeah, dude, this whole shit where, you like even Islam, he's won the belt, and then he's won one fight against an actual lightweight, and that's Poirier. The other two were against a featherweight and Volk. So these guys, they all want to win their belt, and then they want to go to another weight class and fight somebody else. Dude, defend your belt a few times. Clean out the division before you start wanting to change divisions, in my opinion.
Yeah, we got to see him fight Arman, I think.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I agree.
But now we are going to talk about Carlos Prates going against Chuck Buffalo. This is probably one of my favorite fights in the card.
Yeah.
I love this fight. I like both these guys quite a bit. So we have Carlos Prates, who is 30 years old, 6'1" with a 78-inch reach. Charles Radke, 33 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. We have Prates 3 years younger, Prates with a 3-inch height advantage and then a 6-inch reach advantage. Charles Radke 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Blood Diamond, won that fight by decision. His stock plummeted. People thought this guy was a complete bum after that win. And then he goes out there as a dog and it knocks out poor Gilbert Urbina. What a performance there for Charles Radke. As far as Carlos Prates, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He had a knockout win on the Contender Series against Mitch Ramirez, and then he went out there against Officer Trevin Giles and knocked him out in the second round. And yeah, that Trevin Giles fight was kind of crazy. I was I don't want to say I was like that. I was pretty confident on Prates to go out there and beat Officer Trevin Giles. And I also bet, I think it was Prates to win in round 1 or round 2. And I was like ripping up the ticket. And then all of a sudden, with like, I think it was like a minute or so left, Prates lands a big shot and knocks out poor Officer Giles cold in that second round. With 57 seconds left. So this is a guy that, yeah, that was a terrible look, I thought. I mean, he was getting outlanded massively by Officer Trevin Giles. Officially, it was 68-37. So I did not like to see that. But yeah, this is a fun fight, Weezy. We have Prates as a pretty big favorite here. Kind of 2 prospects going after it, which is kind of weird to say because both these guys are in their 30s. But yeah, kind of new to the UFC prospect type fighters. Should be a fun one here.
Totally. Yeah, this is a great one. Love this fight. Radke 2-0 so far in the UFC. You know, I mean, the fight against Blood Diamond, I didn't understand like how the community kind of processed that fight because he got a win against a kickboxer by out grappling him for 3 rounds. And it's like, what did you want him to do? Did you want him to go out there and play Blood Diamond's game and not clinch up with him, not try to take him down? So he went out there and he won that fight, and then they made him a plus 170 underdog to Gilbert Urbina, which was hilarious to me. It was one of the few underdog bets that I actually considered laying more than a unit on because the line just seemed so mispriced to me. Radke's good everywhere. He's got good wrestling. He's got power. He's got solid striking. He's very durable, and he loves to scrap. Radke's 4-1 to the KO. He's 2-0 to the submission, and he's 3-2 to the decision. So he can win fights in different ways. He can bank minutes, win rounds. He can knock you out. He can submit you on the ground, and he's kind of been at a bunch of different camps. He's been with Valley Flow Striking. He's been down in South Florida at MMA Masters. He's kind of getting around, getting a bunch of different looks, bunch of different training partners. And, I think he's done very well so far. But Charles is already almost 34 years old. Carlos Prates is 30. And Carlos has those gifts, that height and that length that you can't teach. And he's just got a very precision striking game. Is very pretty to watch. He's smooth. He's technical. When he, he punches through the target. When he lands right, it's always highlight reel type stuff. And his straight left is just absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So if Carlos is catching you just right, the fight is absolutely over. The grappling defense, though, Brady, that's what I kind of worry about because you don't see much of it on tape. You just don't. So what happens against a guy like Radke who might go out there and might push a grappling heavy pace against Prates? That could take Carlos out of what he's most comfortable doing. And if he's wearing Radke's weight, if he's in those clinch situations, getting his arms filled up with blood, fighting that grinding style of fight, that's not what Carlos is good at. So I kind of feel like Chuck Buffalo could come in here and kind of piss off the fans again, maybe take this fight to places where it won't be very entertaining, but I think it'll be a lot more entertaining for Charles Radke to cash that win check along with the show check, and then he could take that while the crowd just cries tears, and then he just cashes the check. So I don't know. This is a very interesting stylistic fight because I don't think Chuck is just going to go out there and strike with Carlos. I don't think that would be smart at all, even though I think Charles has good striking and that he'd be okay there. I think he's gonna grind this shit up, Brady. I think he's gonna make this dirty. And if he's successful doing that, we could definitely see him having some success here.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate Chuck Buffalo. Is it because of his mic skills? Because he is terrible on the mic, but
He's flipping people off. He's telling them to fuck off. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they like that, but I mean, who cares, right?
Yeah.
It's about how you're getting, I mean, I like cashing bets personally, so I don't care, like Ian Gary's terrible on the mic, but that dude cashes bet after bet after bet after bet after bet, you know? So it really doesn't matter, man. We're trying to cash bets here, and Radke could really make this dirty, dude, because I do like Prates. He's really smooth on the feet. He's really fun to watch. He's one of these guys that looks like a striking savant.
Yeah, but that's a good point. I was thinking the same thing. Like, what happens if Radke takes him down, which he could? I think Radke's either a brown belt or a black belt as well. So yeah, I think there's certainly some paths here for Radke. A lot of people in the chat are saying violence, and I would agree with that. And so would the books, because they have the over under set at 1.5 rounds, and the over 1.5 is -170. The under 1.5 is +140, and then they also have a 2.5 here. The over 2.5 is +140. The under 2.5 is -175. What do you think about this 1.5? I don't know. I think it could maybe go under. I would like a 2.5 though. I'd like that extra round.
Yeah, Prates has been finished in 5 of his 6 losses, Brady.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to like, because like Radke's been finished in 1 of 3 losses, but the way that Prates hits, I don't care. If he hits you clean with one of those straight shots, you're going down. So I could see Prates getting a finish, and I can obviously see Chuck getting a finish, because he's a dangerous guy who hits hard, and he's just mean too. So, and Prates is a guy who has shown that when things aren't going his way, he will find that door. So, yeah, the violence props could have my eye here too, but I'd much rather have an under 2.5 and maybe parlay that up than make sure that, say, like, oh, I need 7.5 minutes here, because Prates is going to wait. He's going to try to set up that perfect shot.
Yeah. I would like that under 2.5 at a decent price, I think. Let's see. Brady and Wheezy, guess what Carlos Prates is about to have in common with Cesar Almeida and Rebellis to Spain? What is that, Dixon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ground game, maybe?
Yeah, that that could be it, man. That could be it, because ass ground game from Robellis, ass ground game from Cesar Almeida, which it looked so much better in the Budka fight and in the Dana White's Contender Series fight, where he just kind of got back up every time. But for some reason, Roman Kopylov, who never wrestled anybody in the UFC, was able to hold him down.
I guess Kopylov's not a fake Russian. I guess he earned his right to be a real Russian last night. That was very impressive for Roman Kopylov. It sounded like Brady said he was ready to watch Prates beat off Officer Trevor. I never want to see something like that. Come on. Fight ends early and by TKO. Yeah, I could see it, man. If these guys stand and swing, somebody's getting knocked out. But Radke probably should take it down to the mat. But 5'9" to 6'1". Yeah, how tall was Urbina? Urbina was like 6'1", right? Maybe 6'2".
Yeah, Urbina's huge for the weight class too. So Charles has always had a little bit of a size disadvantage.
Yeah,
same thing with Blood Diamond.
Yeah, so Radke's a small dude, but he's pretty good, I think. We got Chronic Combat Conversations, digging deep, love starting the fight week off with Stat Diggers every Sunday. What is up, guys? Hopefully you guys had a good night last night, and maybe went to the fights as well. I think they're around Jersey.
I think I saw a picture of the Chronic Combat guys with Keith Peterson, and they actually said, Brady, and I quote, "He does not smell like alcohol and cigarettes."
That's horseshit.
And he was reffing that night. So, hey, that's very interesting, because we know that our guys there, they'll get those media passes, they'll go there, they'll do the whole thing, and they got a picture with Keith. And yeah, the inside news is that he was clean and sober. Well, maybe it's the cigarettes, I don't know, but he said he didn't smell like cigarettes or alcohol.
I don't buy it. Dang well he had a flask. He had a flask. Maybe he wasn't allowed to smoke cigarettes in the arena, but I know for damn sure he had a flask. Maybe some vodka, maybe some whiskey. He did great in the main. Yeah, I guess he did fine. Yeah, no complaints from me last night. The only complaints I had from like a ref last night was the dude that was just completely ignoring the blatant eye pokes.
Yeah, that was wild. When the announcers are yelling at you, "Hey, you can't start the fight back up," like, it's so bad. It's so bad when they're like, "No, you're not doing your job correctly, Gasper." It's terrible.
I guess Keith is vaping now. So
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. He vape. A couple people are saying. I guess he is vaping. So shout out to Keith Peterson. He said no more cigarettes. I'm gonna start vaping. So if you start seeing Keith Peterson blowing clouds in the cage, thinking that's why. 90 units. Chuck Buffalo is responsible here. I don't think that is responsible, but maybe like a 1 unit bet or a half a unit. But 90 units, Lou. I don't know. And vaping is dumb. Smoke cigarettes like a man.
Agreed.
Yeah. Always switch to the nicotine patches. Okay, there you go. He's getting some help. Keith Peterson. Shout out to Keith Peterson. All right. So we talked about this fight enough, and we talked about Keith Peterson enough as well. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Ludovit Klein going against Thiago Moises. We have Ludovit Klein, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. Thiago Moises, 29 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Same age there is going to be Moises with a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Thiago Moises is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A knockout loss to Joel Alvarez, a submission win against Christos Giagos, a submission win against Mel Costa, knockout loss to Benoit Saint Denis, and then a knockout win against Mitch Ramirez. As far as Ludovit Klein, he is 4-0 and 1 draw in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Devontae Smith, decision win against Mason Jones, draw against Jai Herbert, decision win against Ignacio Bahamondes, then a knockout win against AJ Cunningham. And yeah, this is a good fight. Another good fight. Another well-matched fight, I think, because I think both these guys match up very well. And by the way, both these fighters coming off of just fights that shouldn't have been sanctioned. Like Thiago Moises versus Mitch Ramirez should not have been sanctioned. And then especially Ludovit Klein versus AJ Cunningham should not have been sanctioned. That was a sad fight to watch. Went back and watched that fight, and the commentators were talking about how like Cunningham's had to deal with like so much terrible stuff in his life. He's been through a lot, and while they were talking about all that, he was just getting beat up so bad. It was kind of hard to watch. So yeah, both these guys are taking a massive step up from the last fight. Weezy, we got a good fight here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this should be a good. I think this is going to be striker versus striker here. Moises, the wrestling on Moises is just okay, and Ludovit's got great takedown defense. So I kind of feel like, maybe Thiago gets a takedown, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold Ludovit down. And if this is on the feet, I'm going to go ahead and favor Ludovit Klein. I like the knockout power and the head kicks that he has. I like the fact that he's a southpaw. He's finally at the right weight class for him. He was killing himself to go down to 145, and now that he's up here at 155, we're seeing a lot better performances out of him now. And with Moises, like he's such a talented fighter, but it just seems like if you bully this guy for even a minute, he just finds the door, dude. Like the second shit doesn't start going Moises' way, it seems like he doesn't have it in him to get a comeback, to have bad points in a fight where he can come back for, and lose a first round and come back and win a second and a third, that he can have something kind of slipping away from him, getting away from him, and that he's going to come back and wind up rallying. You just don't see it, the elite Brazilian jiu-jitsu that he has, but the takedowns are just okay. So I think that this is going to come down to striking. When you look at Moises' numbers at distance and compare them to Ludovit's numbers at distance, it definitely favors Ludovit. But the problem is that Thiago's fought the better brand of competition. So it's hard because, like, I had a Thiago Moises ticket against Joel Alvarez, right? That was awful, and then I also thought that he should be able to go out there and destroy Mitch Ramirez, which is exactly what he did. But I bet the under 1.5, and he didn't get a finish in under 1.5 rounds. It took him until after that. So I wound up losing money on that fight. I've overrated this guy. I've underrated this guy, and I'm talking about Moises. And I really don't have much of a feel because, first of all, Brady, I don't think his striking is very good. I think it's okay. I don't think it's going to win a lot of fights at him at this level against guys that aren't named Mitch Ramirez. And the wrestling is solid. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is excellent. But, he's actually only winning 46% of the control time positions in his fights. So it's not like this guy's like some lockdown grappler that you cannot go to the mat with. Otherwise, it's over. So I think it's interesting. I think this is more of a step up in competition for Ludovit Klein than it is for Thiago Moises. But I also think, both of these guys, Ludovit Klein, he got run through by not Nate Marquardt, Nate the Train, because Nate kept pushing a pace. And Moises is the kind of guy who can be run through like that as well, like he did against Joel Alvarez. So I don't have a very good handle on this one. I think Klein's the better striker, but I think that this should be probably about a pick 'em.
Yeah, and you mentioned like Thiago Moises fights are kind of tough to read, right? Like I've gotten a lot of his fights wrong. Even lost a bet against in the Mitch Ramirez fight. I think I bet like you had the under 1.5. I had Moises to win in round 1 or round 2. And I thought he was going to sub him in the first round. He almost did, but ended up knocking him out in round 3. So yeah, it's been kind of tough to get a read on Moises. He's kind of inconsistent. Ludovit Klein is somebody who I had very high expectations on when he first came into the UFC, and then he went out there and beat Shane Young by head kick knockout in the first. Then he drops 2 fights against Nate Landwehr and Michael Trezano as well in a close fight. And then kind of the hype died down on the guy. But since then, he's 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. You don't like to see that draw against Jai Herbert, but yeah, he's been looking decent as of late. And yeah, if he can stuff the takedowns here and keep it on the feet, I think he is going to look like a massive favorite. But if Moises can kind of sell out and get this fight down to the mat, extend the fight, it could get interesting down the stretch. I don't think Klein has the best cardio, and he saw that in a couple of his fights. That Landwehr fight especially kind of broke in that fight. So yeah, I definitely do like Klein in this matchup. I agree with you. I think he has the takedown defensive stuff, the takedowns, maybe even knock out Moises. We've seen Moises crumble before as well. I think both these guys are a little bit breakable. So let's see where they have this total at. The over 2.5 is minus 175. The under 2.5 is plus 145. And we have Ludovit Klein. He opened up plus 110. He's now minus 130. And Thiago Moises opened up minus 140. He's now plus 110. So the line looks like it flipped after it opened the other way. And yeah, I think it should be line close. What do you think of this total? The total's kind of interesting. It looks like we have Klein, who's been finished in 3 of 4 losses, 2 by sub, which is interesting for this matchup specifically, and then 1 by knockout. And then Moises has been finished 3 times, 2 by knockout, and 1 by sub. So both these guys very capable of getting finished, and both these guys very capable of finishing. Klein has a ton of power, and Moises is a very good grappler on the mat. So yeah, I don't mind under like a plus money. What are your thoughts on that? Oh no. Oh no. I lost Wheezy. Oh no. This is awkward. What do I do now? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. My camera just came unplugged. I don't know what happened there, but
oh good.
Yeah, so for the under right now at plus 155 is a trifecta bet on my betting template, which means that it means that it's underpriced according to all 3 metric comparisons that I do. The under 2.5 right now is priced at 155, which is a 39.2% implied probability. But 46.8% of lightweight fights finish under 2.5 rounds, and 47.4% of these guys combined UFC fights have finished under 2.5 rounds. So that's about 15% in savings amongst those 2 metric comparisons. And these guys go under 2.5 at a slightly better rate than what the division does as a whole. So plus 155 trifecta bet is actually pretty good because Ludovit Klein will look for the door when shit's not going his way. And Thiago Moises will look for the door when shit's not going his way. So I think that stylistically and data-wise, this is something that you can kind of hang your hat on here at plus 155. I think it's a very solid line to play here. It's just which one of these guys do you think is getting the finish, right? That's the hard part. I mean, that's why I think it is plus money, and it is this attractive because I just see this one going to decision in my head.
Yeah. I think there's path. I mean, if Moises is able to take down Klein, we've seen Klein tap a couple times, and Klein has a lot of power. So I definitely see paths for it to finish. So yeah, I might get to that. And yeah, shout out to Dan Levy from Half the Battle. How dare you guys plug your sponsor? Yeah, so he's talking about, I think he's talking about, so every week from now on, I think I might do like a comment of the week award on my channel because some people just comment the dumbest things I've ever seen that just leave me just staring at the screen like there's no way this dumbass just said that. And I do want to shout out Kevin J 1968, and he says, and I quote, this is comment of the week, well, we lost another capper who's now receiving a paycheck from Prize Picks. All of a sudden, DFS, that's me, is super positive, glowing with enthusiasm, all caps, and saying ridiculous things like, this is a great card. What happened to Mr. Grumpy, which I thought was funny. I'm Mr. Grumpy? What? I thought that was funny. And then he said, money talks, be careful blindly, backing his picks from now on. A sheep turned into a wolf. Comment of the week. Shout out to Kevin J 1968. One of the dumbest comments I think I've seen in a very long time. So yeah, I did plug Prize Picks, and I've been with Prize Picks for over a year, so I don't know what this guy's talking about. But yeah, shout out to Kevin J.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. That sometimes some people just leave some comments where you're like, wow, okay, all right, fair enough. Get a life, dude, you know.
Oh gosh, yes. So he won the Comment of the Week award. I can't wait to announce the winner on Saturday. Let's see. Did I think he's asking Danny if he ever got an appointment with Ludovit Klein's doctor, which he has to have a really good doctor.
I think he just gets in that gym and works hard, Brady. You know, I mean, it's that Slovakian work ethic. That's what he's in there doing. You know, I think it's just irresponsible to suggest he might be taking shortcuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been called a lot of things, but Mr. Grumpy, I think, takes the cake. Mr. Grumpy. Have I ever been grumpy to you? I don't know. Not towards you, at least.
No, not towards me. No. You're not a grumpy guy. There's some cappers out there that are grumpy. You know, but I don't think you or I are in that. I just get grumpy when I lose bets.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a time I was grumpy. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened, but let's see. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Kevin. Mr. Grumpy Pants. I like that. Somebody called me something ridiculous when we were on Best Bet. He said something like Beanie Baby Brady. And then he said I tickled his, what do you say? I tickled his.
Yeah, that was yesterday for Best Bet.
Oh, it's terrible.
Tickle your funnies or something like that.
Yeah, he said I'm tickling his funnies. Like,
yeah, it was really, really weird.
Yeah. Let's see. I've had sand in my vagina several times in the last year, so it can't be the sponsorship. Sand in my vagina. Yeah, some people don't like whenever I call out the judges, but somebody's got to. I mean, these judges, they need called out. You were grumpy during the Angela Hill loopy. That I was.
You were.
And yeah, he said I tickled his happies, which I'm still trying to figure out what happies are and why are they being tickled. And then Jason will be back later. Jason, you'll be back later. We'll see you in a little bit. All right. I say we move on, Wheezy. Enough about tickling happies and enough about all that shit. I say we move on to the next fight. And we have a very, very interesting fight. A fight that I think is going to be fun, but it's a fight that it's kind of tough to gauge here, really how good either guy is. It's Miguel Baeza going against Punahele Soriano. We got Baeza, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach. Punahele Soriano, 31 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Baeza, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Matt Brown. Submission win against Takashi Sato. Decision loss against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Chaos Williams knockout loss, and then a knockout loss against Andre Fiallo. Weezy, is that correct? Did Andre Fiallo didn't get a win in the UFC, did he?
Oh, he did.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I was there, dude. I remember that fight because I was at the casino with Tim Troiano and Narco Cop. And it was the Bilal Muhammad versus Vicente Luque card. And I remember I had a 3-leg parlay because I'm like, this Fiallo is a bum. And I'm betting on Baeza. I'm betting on Bilal Muhammad. And then Kyle Bahayo was the co-main event in his debut against Gadzi Omar Gadziev. So I had that 3-leg parlay, and Baeza fucked it up for me. So then I wound up parlaying Kyle and Bilal and winning that bet. But I remember being there with Tim and Narco Cop and just being like, God damn it, how the fuck is this guy losing to Fialho? And then he got stomped. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Wow. So it's not a typo. This guy actually lost to Andre Fialho. So, and then on the Puna side, we have a decision loss to Brendan Allen. That's not terrible. Nick Maximov, decision loss, not the worst loss in the world. He does knock out Dalcha Langambula, gets knocked out by Roman Kopylov, and then this one's kind of worrisome. He lost to Dustin Stoltzfus by submission. I thought he was going to knock out Stoltzfus in the first round. I think many did, but he kind of got broken and submitted by Stoltzfus there. Wheezy, it's one of those fights where it's like, I can't imagine putting money on either of these guys ever in a million years. But at the same time, I think this fight is going to be so much fun. Like, as a fan, I'm looking forward to sitting back, watching this fight, and seeing which one of these guys gets knocked out. Wheezy, what are your thoughts here?
Well, my thoughts is that I wouldn't bet this fight with Lou Betya's money.
Oh.
I wouldn't bet this fight with your money. I wouldn't bet this fight with Donald Trump or Elon Musk's money. You know, this is, I would not put money on Miguel Baeza. He's on a 2-year and 1 month layoff and coming off a loss to Andre Fialho. Okay. And then you got Punahele Soriano, who is on almost a 6-month layoff, coming off a loss to Dustin Stoltzfus, and then moving down to 170 pounds.
Jeez.
Punahele Soriano is slow. Slow doesn't work well at 170. It works way better at 185. But you know what, Brady? Slow doesn't work in any division. That's the problem. You know, speed is a good thing to have. And Puna does not have it. It's just, he's not a speed guy, right? He's a power guy. He's a muscle guy. He can move you around with wrestling, with judo. He lands that big left hand. He can knock you out. But he's not going to be able to set it up in a pure striking sense. He's just not talented enough. He's not fast enough. He's not technical enough. And while he does have some wrestling and some judo in his back pocket, he doesn't really seem to have the ability to be able to win minutes with it. So, and then now he's moving down to 170, you know, so we got to kind of see how Puna looks on the scale, how this body transformation is going to look. Could be a good thing for him, but I don't think that he's going to fare any better at 170. Because if he's not landing with power against these guys that are going to be much faster than him, if he's not setting up that power shot and he's not winning minutes with his grappling, boy, I don't like it. But then again, Baez has been knocked out in 2 of 3 losses. I hate to repeat it, but he got knocked out by Andre Fialho. Fialho from Portugal, not even Brazil. He's not even from Brazil. He's from Portugal. Name me great Portuguese fighters, Brady. Go ahead. Start now. Andre Fialho. Manel Cop. He has a Portuguese flag, but he's like from Angola and he fights in Asia mostly and he trains in Thailand. So anybody else? Portugal? Cristiano Ronaldo, Dixon Cider.
There we go.
Yeah, he's a great goal scorer. He's led 4 different regional soccer organizations in goals scored, you know, but not a great fighting nation, Portugal. So it's just a bad, I don't want my money on either one of these guys. You know, I think that Baeza be faster, more technical, the better minute winner at range, but Puna could bonk him for sure. I mean, if Fialho can knock you out, Puna can knock you out. So I could see this one going either way. My money will be nowhere near it, though. I can promise you that, Brady. If anything, if I start DMing you later on in the week and I start talking about how I've got a strong opinion on this fight, you got to help me out. You got to tell me to just put it down.
Oh, you can't have a strong opinion on this fight. I mean, my strong opinion is like violence. I think it's a very violent fight. Both these guys, violent finishers with violent power. Punahele, Soriano cutting down to welterweight. Baeza, 2-year layoff. I think everything's adding up towards an under, and I think there's a reason money is coming on this under. First of all, this should be set at 1.5, but they ended up setting it at 2.5 for some reason, and that's even gotten hit. So the under 2.5 opened up -175. It's already -205. The over 2.5 is now +165. Baeza is -170, and Soriano is +145. Gosh, laying -170 on Baeza, and I don't know. I might probably pick him to win here because I'm with you. I think it's probably a good matchup for him. I think he has the better striking, the better cardio, probably more power as well. I love the striking of Baeza. He's a black belt as well, so if this fight hits the mat, it favors him. So yeah, I do like Baeza, but 2-year layoff, just coming off of a knockout loss against Fiallo, and I just don't like it. Daniel saying, don't get the shade on Fiallo. Fiallo's 0-5 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Jake Matthews, knockout loss to Muslim Salikov, knockout loss to Joaquin Buckley, knockout loss to Tim Means, and then he just got knocked out by somebody in the first round in UAE Warriors. So Andre Fiallo might be time to hang him up. I mean, that's 5 knockout losses in a row. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, and not only that, like even before the UFC, you'd see Fiallo completely dead and out of gas after 4 minutes of stand-up, low-volume stand-up. So the guy's defense is trash, his chin is trash, his ground game is trash, his fucking conditioning is trash, and he went out there and he won a couple of UFC fights. And so people were laying juice on this fucking guy, and I remember trying to fade him with guys like Baeza, being like, this guy's awful. And when you fade Andre Fiallo and fail, that shit's gonna stick in your craw, and I'm still pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, man. Glenn saying they have went under 2.5 in 7 of their last 5 fights, so 7 of their last 10 combined has went under 2.5, which is why money's coming in on this under. I might even look under 1.5 potentially, depending on the price, because I think these guys are going to stand and swing.
It's funny, Brady. I actually thought about playing the over here because I'm like, these guys suck so fucking bad. They're not going to be able to get each other out of there. And that's why I actually thought that maybe I would play the over, but I can't do that either. I don't think that would be a responsible play either, because both of these guys, like you said, they both have got a lot of power.
And I think both have a little bit of quit in them and durability issues. Soriano has 5 minutes of cardio as well. It's all bad, man. This is on the main card as well, right? It's a fun one.
I think it is. It's a fun fight though. Yeah, it's a fun fan-friendly fight.
Yeah, agreed. If I can get -130 or -140, I'll bet Baeza. Puna's too slow.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I just don't want to bet on this fight. But yeah, I'm thinking Baeza is the side, but I don't know. This fight should be further down the card. I think they put it on the main card because I think there's a good chance there is a finish. That's why they put the Morono Price fight on the main card last night. They're like, oh yeah, there's a good chance this one finishes. Nope, not even close. Actually, that was terrible.
I lost 1.3 units on a -130 under 2.5 there, man. It just wasn't close to finishing. Sometimes you think that the stylistic read is there, but it just doesn't work out for you, and that was one of them.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's move on to this next fight, and we're getting to some good stuff here. We have Julian Marquez going against Zach Reese. We got Julian Marquez, 34 years old, 6'2" with a 72-inch reach. Zachary Reese, 30 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. It's going to be Zach Reese, 4 years younger. Zach Reese with a 2-inch height advantage, and Zach Reese with a 5-inch reach advantage. Julian Marquez, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Alessio Di Chirico. Submission win against Maki Patolo. Submission win against Sam Alvey. Knockout loss to Gregory Rodriguez, and then a knockout loss against Marc-Andre Barrio. As far as Zach Reese, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Had a first-round submission win, sub off his back against Aronov on the Contender Series. He got dropped and then got a sub off his back there in the first round. And then he gets slammed, knocked out by Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage does it again, Wheezy. He cashes a first-round ticket. Cody Brundage loves cashing it. I remember when he knocked out Jacob Malkoun cold. Yeah. It took a while for Malkoun to wake up after that brutal knockout. But yeah, Cody Brundage does his thing there in that matchup. All right. Yeah, so we have another very closely lined fight here. It looks like Marquez looks like minus 120 now on some books, and money's starting to come in on him. Yeah, I went and researched this fight today because I know you have a really strong take on it, Wheezy. And I don't know. I'm kind of getting like phony fraud vibes from Zach Reese. I'm watching these fights and it's like he looks okay, I guess. You know, the striking, it looks very sloppy, but he's powerful. But you're looking at the competition and it's like, wow, this is the worst competition I've ever seen in my life. So yes, he's finishing these guys, but I don't think it gets much worse than some of the guys he's been going out there and beating. And then I'm not sure what his game is. Like, what's this guy's game? Like, he's not the best striker. His grappling's very good and very dangerous, but he doesn't have the wrestling to get it there. A lot of his fights, he's ending up on his back and getting the subs from bottom. Like, is he going to do that here against Marquez? So I went to the guy that has called out many phonies in the UFC. And Wheezy, you have a 100% phony rate. And I asked you, is Zach Reese a phony? I needed to know. And you didn't give me a definitive answer, so I'm not completely sure, yes or no, but I am kind of leaning towards a potential phony here for Zach Reese. With that said, though, I don't know if I trust Julian Marquez. I mean, I'm not sure what Julian Marquez is that great at. With that said, though, in this matchup, I like the takedown defense of Marquez. I think he's either a brown or black belt in his own right. He's fought the much better competition. He's been to a second round, a third round. Zachary Reese has not. Zach's only seen a first. I think that Marquez is going to be the better striker. I think Marquez is going to have a lot of advantages in this matchup, Wheezy. So I see why some money is starting to come in on him, but I'm not sure I want to get there yet. So, Wheezy, I know you have a strong take on this one. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, so like I am picking Marquez here, and I have a bet on him, but you know, I don't want to go out and call Zach Reese a fraud because he's only got 7 fights. Those 7 fights have taken place in 11 minutes, right? So we have 11 minutes of tape on him. And his Dana White's Contender Series fight was against the guy from the Israeli regional scene, probably the worst regional scene in the world, or at least top 5. And like, I remember even in that fight, Brady, like, Cormier was cage side calling that fight, and he was laughing about how bad Eli Aronov was. He goes, he put himself in the armbar. He pulled his arm out, and then he put it back in. And actually, you see Eli's elbows out, and then you see him go back in and put his arm back in there, and then he taps before the armbar even starts getting cranked. So that win, he got knocked down too, like he wound up flat on his ass there against a guy that's not good in Eli Aronov. And then he slaps on that triangle against Cody and then gets knocked out. So like, so here's some things, right? If there's a durability issue with Zach Reese, he's got no chance to win this fight. None. Other than a meme submission. If you're not durable against Julian Marquez, you're gonna lose. This guy can take a tremendous beating. So we don't know anything about Zach. We've never seen him in a second round. We've never seen him offensively get a takedown. His striking doesn't look good to me. Now, you can go and watch several different Julian Marquez fights and watch his stand-up at the UFC level. It's definitely not world-beating, It's okay. But it's better than Zach Reese. And Julian's much more experienced at the UFC level and overall. We're talking 80 more minutes of cage time. We're talking 55 more minutes of octagon time. He's fought the way, way, way better brand of competition. The first time Zach Reese took a step up the ladder, he got knocked out in the first round by Cody Brundage. So I think that Zach Reese has got a ton to prove. And this is the kind of opponent where he could prove it because Marquez is not active, Brady. He has not fought much. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. The guy gets to the cage about once a year, and he usually has a cancellation or two in between fights as well. So there's a lot of questions on Marquez. We saw Maki Patolo, who's a striker, go out there and take him down several times and win a bunch of minutes on the ground. We've seen him get knocked out on the feet by Barrio, by Gregory Rodriguez. Saw him lose a split decision to Alessio Di Chirico, who's a very mid fighter. But all those guys are very tested veterans. That's the thing. Zach Reese's entire career is 11 minutes long. We've got a lot to find out about this guy. And other than some really good submission grappling or him knocking out some guys that are 0-0 on the regional scene in matrix fights and in Fury, I just don't see. Zach Reese is going to have to prove it to me. And if he can beat a guy like Marquez, who's very durable, who's very well tested, who's got good conditioning, then he will prove it to me. But until he proves it to me, I'm gonna err on the side that this guy's not UFC level yet.
All right, there we go. And it looks like we have money coming in on Marquez. He opened up plus 160, believe it or not. He's currently a minus 125 favorite. Zach Reese opened up minus 200. He's currently plus 105. And then the under was something I had circled, but it looks like they have the under 1.5 at minus 155. I don't really love that at all. But at the same time, Zachary Reese has never seen a second round yet. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Wasn't Marquez retired? I thought I heard about that too. I know he's doing like a ton of different stuff outside the cage, but I don't think he officially retired. Did he? I don't know. I don't. I'm not sure.
I didn't hear if he did.
Miley Cyrus is going to be getting in attendance. If Miley Cyrus is in attendance, I think Marquez gets it done for sure there. Marquez is beyond washed and has split priorities with his stripper podcast. Oh, he's a stripper podcast. Hey, I know he has a podcast, but I didn't know what's a stripper podcast. Is he?
Well, I think his podcast co-host is a stripper.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a
porn
stripper
star or something like that.
Okay, I thought it was like a stripper podcast where he's doing a podcast and there's strippers, which would be very cool. Why aren't we doing that? We're on a podcast. Where's our strippers?
I don't know, dude. It seems like the entire world's against us, Brady, and that's why we don't get to do shit like that. And it all just goes to people like Julian Marquez, while you and I sit out here doing all the hard work, grinding it out every Sunday. Where's our strippers? I'm looking around, man. I don't fucking see them.
I don't know. I don't see him either. Fight ends in sub. Yeah, I think I don't know. I could see a KO. I think I might pick Marquez here by KO potentially, but if this fight hits the mat, I think either guy could be live for a sub. Reese is very active off his back, and Marquez I think is a black belt as well. Sean Strickland, and by the way, Sean Strickland, decent performance last night. Oh, it's his therapist actually, but he loaded up on Marquez. Reese is a fraud. Yeah, I'm still trying to decide if he's a fraud or not. We'll see. Zach on his head. Reese, yeah, he did get knocked out brutally by Cody Brundage. Marquez disputed a bill at Applebee's and got KO'd by the waitresses. Well, those waitresses at Applebee's, they're tough though. They're very tough.
They are tough, dude. They deal with a lot of shit there, and I know that they have to have some kind of martial arts training just to even get on the floor there. But wow, knocking out Julian Marquez, that's a feather in your cap, whoever that server was.
Reese's regional opponents have a combined 12-14 record, which is funny. I thought it might have been worse than that, but 12-14. And he beat a guy making his debut. Yeah, it wasn't great, but we'll see. Marquez is the type of guy to tell Twitter troll to meet him in the gym and get KO'd. Oh, come on. Everybody's hating on Marquez. We got Mark saying, I know a little bit about these guys. I want nothing about this fight. Yeah, as of now, I'm going to be passing, but maybe some type of violence could be in play. All that red means good. Yeah, there's a lot of red on the screen. Everybody's red.
Yeah, there's a lot of red, man. These guys absorb a lot of significant strikes. And what's hilarious about Zach Reese, Brady, he literally has 0% distance striking defense. He had 10 punches thrown at him by Cody Brundage, and Cody landed every single one of them. 0% distance striking defense for Zach Reese.
It's not a great strategy having 0% striking defense. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. Just say it, Weeze fraud. I'm gonna be watching Weeze's content this week. If he says fraud or phony, I'll hop in on Marquez. But until then, I'm staying away. Have me on the show and I'll strip. I don't think that's the the best idea. Reese looks good against pretzel vendors, though. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does. He was going out there and beating some pretzel vendors and strippers for stat diggers. So that's the new motto. Strippers for stat diggers. Book it. Let's do it. And yeah, Aussie as well. Bring it. The fight ends by sub. Both guys have submission upside. Let me see here. So yeah, Reese pretty much. So Reese has both guys. Wheezy have a 100% finish rate.
Yes.
Reese has won 67% of his wins by knockout, as has Marquez, I believe, as well. I think they're pretty similar, like a little bit more knockouts than subs, right?
Yeah, it's 6 knockouts, 3 subs for Marquez, and 4 knockouts, 2 subs for Zach Reese. So they both have twice as many knockouts as they do submissions. But like these guys are saying, they're both very good submission grapplers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how I'm probably going to bet on this fight. I just don't know what I'm going to attack yet, but something could be interesting. Maybe the double KO could be interesting, says Justin. We'll see. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have a couple more fights to go. We have... There it is. So Brunno Ferreira going against Dustin Stoltzfus. We have Brunno Ferreira, 31 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Dustin Stoltzfus, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. Ferreira, 1 year younger. It's going to be Stoltzfus with a 2-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Brunno Ferreira, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Gregory Rodriguez, won that fight by first-round knockout, lost to Nursultan Rizaboa by first-round knockout, and then beats Phil Haas by first-round knockout. As far as Dustin Stoltzfus goes, he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Submission loss to Rodolfo Vieira in the 3rd round. Submission loss to Gerald Mearshart in the 3rd round. Decision win against Dwight Grant. First-round knockout loss against Abus Magomedov. And then a submission win against Punahele Soriano. And this is a card, Wheezy, where we don't have a ton of big favorites, but it looks to me like this guy, Brunno Ferreira, is going to be the 2nd biggest favorite on the card, right behind Canada's own Brad Katona. So yeah, this is a spot for me where I feel like Ferreira should go out there and do exactly what I thought Punahele Soriano was going to do, which was knock out Dustin Stoltzfus in the 1st round. And it was weird, like Puna in that fight, that Puna Stoltzfus fight, Puna hurt him multiple times in the 1st round. And it was like Puna was trying to maybe conserve himself a little bit, which I guess it makes sense, even though he's still gassed out. But yeah, he's trying to conserve himself a little bit. He would land a big shot, hurt Stoltzfus, and just like stare at him. It was very concerning. But Brunno Ferreira, this is a guy that has a ton of power. He's an absolute finisher, a 100% finish rate. This guy's pretty good, pretty dangerous. So I feel like Ferreira probably does knock out Stoltzfus in the 1st round. If it does reach the 2nd, it could get interesting considering we don't really see Ferreira in the 2nd round that much. But yeah, I'm liking Ferreira here. I'm liking Ferreira early, and I'm liking an under, even though it's probably going to be juiced to the tits. Wheezy, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I don't think Dustin is that dangerous, but I do know Dustin's a very smart fighter, and that if he gets this fight to the ground and gets to a dominant position, he can do some damage and he can set up submissions. Dustin's fought the much better brand of competition, in my opinion. When you're talking about guys like GM3, Abus Magomedov, Rodolfo Vieira, the guy's been out there against some really good guys, Joe Pyfer even. And he's a lot more experienced, both at the UFC level and overall. Dustin's going to be the bigger dude. He's 2 inches taller. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage. But Ferreira's got a lot of power, and we've seen Dustin be finished in 3 of his 5 losses and in 3 of his 4 UFC losses. So, like, when Dustin's not having a good day in the UFC, he's getting finished. He's not just, losing minutes. He's losing moments, too. And Ferreira is the kind of guy who can find those moments, whether it's on the mat where he's 3-0 to the submission, or whether it's on the feet where he's 8-1 to the KO. He did get knocked out by Nursultan Rozaboyev, but that dude's 6'5", with almost an 80-inch reach. So I think it's going to be a little bit different fighting a guy like Stoltzfus, who doesn't really have the same kind of power that a lot of Ferreira's previous opponents have had, like guys like Rodriguez, Ruzaboyev, Haas. So unless Dustin can kind of grime this up and find some ways to get this thing to the ground, I do think that eventually Ferreira finds that big shot and ends the fight. But this is an odd one, man. Ferreira's not the kind of guy I'd lay minus 270 on, and Stoltzfus is the kind of guy who can kind of surprise you a little bit by finding weaknesses in his opponent's skill set and exploiting them. So, I mean, this one might even be dog or pass at the current price, but I definitely got to look into it more, Brady.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with passing because I'm laying. I'm with you. I'm not laying minus 275 on Ferreira, but I'm also not betting on Dustin Stoltzfus. Yeah, I'll definitely be passing from a money line perspective. Might look at like Ferreira round one knockout. I think makes a lot of sense, but I'm guessing they'll be on that one. So, but yeah, my pick is definitely Ferreira to win this one by first round knockout. Brady with the secret juice. No, this is actually vodka with Mio. I'm now an alcoholic. Thank you to Gary Copeland. It was that Atlantic City card where, there's the eye pokes, the terrible decisions, and Gary Copeland. Gary Copeland turned me into an alcoholic. I don't know if you guys have heard, but yeah, I'm drinking some vodka tonight.
I got an empty water cup, which I'm going to go fill up right now to get through these last couple of fights because we've got some really good ones to close off the card.
Yeah, I'll hit up the chat. Go fill up your water.
Yeah, good. Let's go.
Dog or pass? Yeah, nothing's wrong with pass, and I think it's a pass or pass for me. Brunno has all the momentum, but don't touch his money line. Wait for the KO props. Agreed. I would look at the KO prop, KO 1-2, something like that is where I'll probably get to. Brady needs a pick with Gary to cure his alcoholism. Maybe. Gary seems like a cool guy, but I don't know. Gary Royd, Rage, Copeland. Brunno has been killer be killed ever since he came into the UFC. So if he doesn't get it into the first, he's toast in the second. Could be. Brunno Ferreira hasn't, I don't even think, been the distance yet. Let's see. Brunno Ferreira has never been the distance in his entire career. And yeah, Nick's saying a lot of KOs on this card to make up for 302. So on 302, we had 0 knockouts. I'd be shocked if we didn't get any knockouts on this card. With some of these fights, I'd be shocked if we didn't get at least a couple knockouts in this card. So agreed. All right, Weezy, your water's all filled up?
Yes.
All right, I think I'm still good on the vodka. So
very good.
Should be good.
Let's go.
Yep. All right. And we'll move on to the next fight. We have a fight that we already broke down. And I was surprised to see this fight was rebooked because Ricky Turcios already won. I mean, Raul Rosas Jr., he did the old pull out 5 minutes before the fight starts. I hate that. I hate it. For one, I had a bet on that fight. And two, it just ruins the DraftKings slate because I had a ton of Raul Rosas Jr. in that matchup. But they're rebooking it. And so we'll talk about it again. We have Raul Rosas Jr., 19 years old, 5'9" with a 67-inch reach, 8-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Ricky Turcios, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, 12-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Raul Rosas Jr., 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He went out there and beat Terrence Mitchell by knockout in a fight that shouldn't have been sanctioned. He lost to Christian Rodriguez by decision. He beat Jay Perrin by submission. And he got a decision win on the Contender Series. As far as Turcios, he went out there his last fight against Kevin Natividad, won that fight by decision, lost to Ayman Zahabi by decision. He beat Brady Houston by decision. And, he was in the tough house as well. So, yeah, for me, this is one I think I'm just going to stay away from. My pick is Raul Rosas Jr., but, I mean, he's minus 250. I just have a feeling like things can get weird in this fight because I don't think Ricky's going to be easy to submit. And as we know, Raul Rosas Jr., he does expend a ton of energy early. And if this fight does get extended, it could get interesting. But I think at the very least, it should be like Raul Rosas Jr. even getting that submission early or maybe dropping the third and winning a decision. But minus 250 is not something I'm in love with. So, but yeah, give me Raul Rosas Jr. here to win the fight. I just don't think I'm going to be pulling the trigger on this fight. But yeah, Ricky Turcios getting taken down by Kevin Natividad 7 times is a huge red flag. I know Houston took him down 6 times, which that's not a terrible look, but still, when guys are taking him down or trying to take him down, they do. He has a 45% takedown defense, so I think it should be no different than Raul Rosas Jr. And wasn't that Raul Rosas, their first fight supposed to be in Mexico, right?
Mexico City, yeah.
It's the high elevation. So I think since this fight is going to be in Louisville, the elevation, 0?
Yeah, it's negligible. It's not going to be not going to be up in the mountains. That's
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
we don't have to worry about Raul Rosas. I guess we still have to worry about it a little bit, but we don't have to worry about him like death gassing after 30 seconds. So give me Rosas. Just don't know if I'm going to touch this fight. Wheezy, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, when these guys were originally scheduled to fight, I picked Tercios to win. I think that Raul's just got a lot to prove at this point. I don't know if the conditioning is there. I don't know if the wrestling is even there. The wrestling is going to be very important for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player. If you're not able to get takedowns at this level, it's going to be very difficult. But luckily for Rosas, Tercios' takedown defense is below 50%. He gets taken down 4.3 times per 15 minutes and controlled for 28% of his UFC cage time. But the thing is, though, he keeps getting back up. He actually wins 41% of the control time positions in his fight, despite the fact that he gets I would say just over 20% of the takedowns and attempts like less than that. So I think that Tercios is going to be able to get back up when Rosas takes him down. And I think over the second half of the fight, if Rosas isn't able to get takedowns and get to dominant positions, that Tercios is going to wear him out and actually win the second and third rounds and win a decision here. He was my dog of the week, when they were supposed to fight the first time. So I don't know, man. This is an interesting one. Tercios already 1-0 against Raul Rosas. He's looking to make it 2 in a row now. And that's basically what he said. Remember, because that looked like a quit job from Rosas, because even his dad said something to the fact that he got dizzy or he got something, right before fight time, and we're not going out there if he's dizzy. And it's like, the fuck are you talking about, man? You see, he signed a contract. You're up next. You're healthy. Get the fuck out there. So, that makes me believe that the moment might be too big for Raul. And he is still very young, 19 years old, Brady. This guy's going to go out there in front of a live crowd in his underwear and fight another grown man in a cage. So we got a lot to find out about Raul still. I really do believe that. And we're going to find out against a veteran like Tercios, who does have a pretty good get-up game when he gets taken down, who's got phenomenal conditioning, really good output. So he could give Raul some problems on the feet if Raul is unable to get it to the ground. So a very interesting fight. We'll see how Rosas does here with this being his fourth UFC fight so far.
Yeah, Raul Rosas Jr. this time around opened up minus 250, is now minus 244. Ricky Tercios opened up plus 200, currently plus 209. The over-under set at 2.5. The over 2.5, minus 155. The under 2.5 is plus 125. Probably just going to stay away from this fight here. Raul Rosas by decision. I think it's Rosas' fight. You ever sit there and wonder what Liang Na is doing all the time? Also saying interesting stats. Tercios taken down 6 times against Natividad and Heastand, but Tercios won both of those fights. Yes, he did. Ricky's going to do karaoke in the cage. I could see it. Raul's going to smash. He's only improving and getting stronger. Yeah, that, and I just think it's a really good matchup for him personally, but he's a big favorite, though. And we got AJ in the building. What is up, AJ? All right, Weezy, we got to move on. We have 2 fights left. It is going to be Dominic Reyes going against Dustin Jacoby. And we have Dustin Jacoby, who is 36 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach, 19-8-1 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We got Dominic Reyes, 34 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. Dominic Reyes is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Those include a knockout loss against Ryan Spann, a knockout loss against Yuri Prochazka, a knockout loss against Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz was, I think, in round 3. Prochazka, I think, was in round 2. Spann was in round 1. And then he lost a very close decision to John Jones. So it's been a while since we've seen Dominic Reyes in the cage. Actually, no, it's only been like 9 months. I thought it was longer than that. It's been a while since we've seen Jacoby in the cage. It's been over. I'm looking at the wrong thing. How long has it been since Jacoby's been there?
Jacoby 5 months, but a year and a half for Dominic Reyes.
What was I looking at? What am I looking at? Oh, okay, I see it. Okay. Yeah, my bad. So it has been a long time since Dominic Reyes. So yeah, I don't know. Dominic Reyes, Have we ever seen a greater downfall than Dominic Reyes? He arguably beat John Jones. Like, a lot of people thought he beat John Jones in that fight. I personally scored it for Jones, but like very on the slimmest of slim margins there. And then since then he's getting sparked. Got sparked by Blachowicz, got sparked by Yuri, and then I guess the worst one is just getting sparked by Ryan Spann. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this fight. It's really hard to trust Dominic Reyes at this point of his career. The chin seems to be shot at this point, and Jacoby is a really good striker. Really really good volume from Jacoby, really good kickboxing. He has some good wins himself. The one thing I don't like though is that Azat Mirzakana fight. I think Jacoby looked terrible in that fight, but every other fight I think he looked pretty good. I know he lost the Menefield fight, but he was winning the majority of that fight. Just lost some moments there. I don't know, Easy. What are you doing with this one here?
Yeah, I bet the over here at plus 175, over 2.5. Jacoby's he's just not this murderous power puncher finisher at this level. And I understand the concerns about Dominic Reyes' chin at this point. He's been knocked out in 3 of his 4 UFC losses. And his last 3 losses do come by way of knockout. Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochaska, which is, okay. But then you get knocked out by that guy Spann. And Spann just lost to Bogdan Guskov. So, yeah. And it happened in the second round when the guy doesn't beat anybody. He actually beat him badly in the first round, then got knocked out by him in the second. So, I bet the over. I'm hoping that Jacoby kind of just touch, wins the minutes and kind of cruises to a decision win over Reyes here. But this is going to be an interesting one because these guys are very well matched on the feet. It's just the question of, is Reyes done? Because he's younger. He's a year and a half younger than Dustin is. He's an inch taller. He's got an inch reach advantage. But Dustin's the more experienced guy overall and at the UFC level. Dustin, the better kickboxing pedigree. Dustin is not going to... Dominic really does have the better wrestling. He's the guy with the wrestling background. While Jacoby was a guy that, when he first came into the UFC, was struggling with grapplers taking them down. Now he's really kind of cleaned up that takedown defense, and he keeps fights standing, which is where he does his best work. He's high volume. He's got good defense, and he's got a positive 2.1 distance striking differential. So I think that this is a pretty good spot for Jacoby to win minutes here. He could get a knockout. His last 2 wins do come by way of knockout, but they were both early stoppages. So, we'll see. I got plus 175. I'm really happy with that number. And if Reyes' chin is dust, I'll lose a unit, but I think that this is going to be a kickboxing sparring match that goes to decision. That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't hate the shot at all at a big plus money number. Unless, Reyes, like you said, his chin is completely shot, then we'll see. But, Jacoby is not some murderous power puncher. We got, let's see, Ire Temset. Shout out to Ire Temset sponsoring the show, $2. He's saying, Brady, general thoughts on UFC 302. My general thoughts are, I thought the card was very lackluster, was very, very disappointing. I thought there were some good moments. I thought the Hafez Gall fight, shout out to really both those guys for bringing it in that fight. I thought that fight was awesome. I thought the Randy Brown, Eliza Zaleski dos Santos fight was a very good fight. I thought Kevin Holland brought it, got the submission win against Mikhail Olazechuk. Jarlton Almeida showed up. He bounced back. But there were some really terrible fights, terrible performances. I mean, that Raposo Silva fight just took all the energy out of the room. Grant Dawson went out there and laid on Joe Solecki for 15 minutes. So I thought the card was very lackluster until that main event, Dustin Poirier, Islam Makhachev. And I think that main event kind of made up for the whole card being kind of, whatever. So overall, I think the card was pretty solid. And I think Islam even said it. He said that he saved the card. And I would agree. I think both Islam and Dustin did save the card, because that fight was a very good one. We got Elijah One saying, give me Jacoby. Reyes is the GOAT. Oh, not anymore. Not anymore. Both guys are super shot, so at least give me the plus 175 who's taking a break to heal up. I wouldn't say Jacoby's completely shot. He looks shot in that Ozat fight or Osmot fight,
Azamat,
but
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I have Reyes turning back the clock and ruining everyone's parlays. I will not be parlaying anything up on this fight, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it will be. We got JW saying Reyes is past it. Certainly looks so, but we'll see. If he loses this one, it'll be 0-5 in his last 5. I didn't know Reyes was still in the UFC. I didn't either. I thought if you get finished by Ryan Spann, you might get cut. Robbery of the century in that Jones fight. Yeah, a lot of people thought that Dominic Reyes won the fight. Reyes is totally washed, but I don't want to pay minus 220 on Jacoby, who lays an egg when he's the favorite. Yeah, I actually did bet on Jacoby, I think, in that Mirzakana fight. And I'm like yelling at the TV. Like Ozat slowed down after the first 7.5 minutes, and Jacoby was, I think he was trying to wrestle him, wasn't he? Like he needed to finish, and he started trying to wrestle him when he was gassed out.
In the 3rd round. Yeah. It was a really bad showing for Dustin, by far the worst he's looked, because he's looked so much better in every single other fight except for that Mirzakhanov fight. And there must have just been something with Azamat that just had Dustin, just had him in fits. That, I guess he said he was really fast and he wasn't expecting that.
I thought it might have been how terrifying looking Mirzakhanov is.
Yeah. That, and you see like Jacoby, somebody with a chest that's just shaved clean, and then you got Azamat with that rug there, and he's so small and so bulky, but he's actually kind of fast and accurate at the same time. He's an interesting fighter, and we haven't seen him in a minute.
Yeah, I think he just got a fight booked. I forget against who, but I'm prepared to lose more money betting against him, because that's what I like to do. We got Moneyliner becoming a member, saying I am now a sponsor. We got a sponsor. Shout out to Moneyliner sponsoring the show. Appreciate it. I'm here for the what?
The gangbang. It's a classic line from the movie Old School. Absolute classic scene in that movie. It's Todd Phillips, who's the director of the movie, who actually says the line. Okay. Old School Brady with Luke Wilson and Will Ferrell, an absolute classic comedy movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, dude, you gotta see it.
I haven't.
It's awesome.
Came out in 2003, so I was like 5.
Oh
yeah, I haven't seen it.
Dude.
I can't believe it.
I was 29.
I'll have to check it out. Shout out to Lou Sassoli. If you guys have not followed him on Twitter, I guess you could, but just be careful. Just be careful following that guy. I mean, some of the stuff I see on his Twitter, some of that's, I'm surprised they haven't kicked him off of Twitter, to be honest. But he's a great follow. Shout out to Lou Sassoli. He's French, right? I always forget.
Yes, I believe. No, I think it's Italian. I think it's
Italian. Okay.
Sassoli, like that.
Okay. There you go. Is Romanov a future champ? Champ of what? That's the question.
Hot dog eating champion
of strength resistance training bands. He's very good at those. But those training bands, they don't correlate to getting wins in the UFC, I guess. Who would have thought? This is going to be another spot like Nico Price, where people are potentially overestimating how busted his shin is. Reyes moneyline will end up being value. I don't mind that take, Loco man. I don't mind. Great movie. Out to watch it. I can't believe I haven't. Will Ferrell is in it. Dang. Where
dude, you gotta watch that movie. It is an absolute classic, dude. You're gonna laugh your ass off. Probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably top 5.
It's like they got it on Fubu, Paramount Plus, YouTube TV, or YouTube, Hulu, Sling, Roku, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV. All right, what, $4? Was it worth $4? You think?
Dude, it's worth way more than that. But yeah, you should be able to find and pay for it so you don't get some kind of like cut down version of it.
Okay, yeah, I'll cough up the $4. All right, and I'll let you know how it is. Just like I let you know how that there was that one movie with the guy who hits people with
Orange Man.
I was gonna watch that movie and pay for it. It was like $10 for no reason. I watched the trailer and I decided I'm not gonna buy it because it was the worst trailer I've ever seen. It looked like I could have made a better movie. It was just some guy, some serial killer who beats people with oranges. What a terrible movie. We gotta remake that, Wheezy. It's terrible.
We'll both go to film school and then we'll figure out how to make a movie. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We were talking about making like a Netflix show, like a buddy cop show with was it Chris Barnett and Jean Volante?
Yes, Fat Barnett and Fat Volante. What we were gonna call it?
We're gonna call it.
Oh, I forgot what we were gonna call it. I don't think we had a name for it. I think we were still on a working title, but
all right.
Yeah, it was gonna be great, and the whole thing was gonna be that like Volante would finally catch the criminal, but then he would get Volante choked from the top when he tackled the guy, and then the criminal would get away. So, it's going to be great. We're going to make that happen one
Wait, didn't he get Volante choked from bottom against somebody terrible?
Yeah.
Was it Reese Green? It was somebody just.
It was Maurice Green, the guy that smokes with cigarettes. Yeah, he got an arm triangle from the bottom because John Volante was so tired.
That is hilarious. So maybe we'll work on that on maybe the next off week. But we got the main event to break down. Before we get into, if you guys could like the video, smash the like button. We do appreciate it. Comment on the video, leave a comment. We have 617 of you in here, which is just completely obliterating the record. I think last week we set a record with like 300 something, but I think we doubled it tonight. So people are really looking forward to the debut of that. What was that bum's name? What was that bum's name on the card?
Which card?
This card, the bum. There's a bum on the card.
Tomar?
Puja Tomar, yeah. Everybody's looking forward to the debut of Puja Tomar, the bum. All right, main event time. We have Nassourdine Imavov going against Jared Cannonier. We got Imavov, 28 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach, 13-4, 3-1, and won no contest in his last 5 fights. Jared Cannonier, 40 years old, 5'11", with a 77.5-inch reach, 17-6, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cannonier, he last won a decision against Marvin Vettori that went 25 minutes, a decision against Sean Strickland that went 25 minutes, lost a decision against Adesanya that went 25 minutes. He knocked out Derek Brunson in the second round, then he beat Kelvin Gastelum by decision. As far as Imavov, he went out there and beat Roman Dolidze across 25 minutes his last time out. He lost, or he didn't lose to Chris Curtis. It was a no contest. I think it was an eye poke potentially in that fight. And then he lost to Sean Strickland by decision. He beat Joaquin Buckley by decision and then beat Edmund Shabazian by TKO. So yeah, Jared Cannonier, 40 years old, still getting after it. He looked incredible in that Marvin Vettori fight. He had Marvin Vettori hurt on multiple occasions. Marvin Vettori showed off a great chin, and Imavov went out there. It looked like he was about to spark Roman Dolidze, which was insane. It looked like he was about to finish him. The fight arguably could have potentially been stopped. It didn't get stopped, and Imavov proceeded to go out there and win the majority of the rounds the rest of the fight. So both guys coming off pretty good wins. I think both guys looked great in their last performances. Imavov's going to be 12 years younger. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage. Going to have a reach disadvantage, but yeah, it's an interesting fight here. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, great main event. 2 top-notch middleweights here. 5 rounds, so that's going to be very interesting to see how these guys handle that. But I really like Imavov in this spot. Really hard to bet on a 40-year-old, especially when he's fighting a 29-year-old in Imavov who looks like he is the real deal. Nassourdine is beating real competition here. Shabazian, Joaquin Buckley, Chris Curtis, Roman Dolidze. The loss to Sean Strickland was a good learning experience. But Jared really hasn't had the wrestling tested that much lately. And I want to see if Nassourdine is able to mix in the grappling here. Because if he's able to do that, I think that's going to be a great way for him to win minutes and take some of these rounds that are probably going to be pretty close on the feet and kind of get the judges to lean his way. Jared is a very durable dude. Going to be hard to get him out of there at 185 pounds. I mean, I think it's been heavyweights that have finished this guy. So it's a great main event, man. I think on the feet, this is going to be very close, but I love the fact that Nassourdine's 11 years younger. I love the fact that he's 4 inches taller. I love the fact that he's very experienced, even though he's not as experienced as Cannonier at the UFC level. He's fighting a similar level of competition with, similar win-loss records. And Nassourdine's ability to be able to mix in the grappling in some of these fights is really showing that he's well-rounded and doesn't have to rely on one particular path of victory in order to get the dub. So I'm going with Nassourdine here. I think he's going to get it done by decision, and I think he's going to win some minutes in the grappling in order to make this clear.
Yeah, what's up with middleweight fights and just going to decision in 25-minute fights? It seems like all of them do. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's because we have Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland in the
That'll do it.
division, who are guys that, are not murderous power punchers. They're minute winners, and these fights, they go the distance. If Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland were to be on the same plane and that plane crashed tomorrow, you'd start seeing a lot more finishes in middleweight fights. I'll tell you that.
Jeez. Yeah, I suppose you're right about that. So yeah, we have Nassourdine Imavov opening up a -115, and he's currently -125 now, it looks like. And Jared Cannonier opening up -115, and he's currently +105. The over-under set at 4.5 rounds. The over 4.5 is -155. The under 4.5 is +125. Tricky total because I'm with you. I think this fight does go to decision, but 25 minute sweat there for you and laying chalk on it. I don't know.
No thanks, man. I don't need that shit. I've already got the over 2.5 in the Reyes Jacoby fight. That's enough overs for one card for me. I'd like to attack some unders after we saw a complete lack of violence last week. I think maybe we'll get a little bit more finishes. And my over under template, Brady, it likes the Castaneda under 2.5. It likes the Thiago Moises under 2.5. And I personally think that the under 2.5 in the Moura versus Gomes fight has got some got a little bit of potential on that line as well. So yeah, let's find some violence this week. Louisville, Kentucky. How about some finishes for your Uncle Weezy and your Uncle Brady this week? Because I lost 3 violence bets and a submission prop bet because these guys refused to fight yesterday. So come on, Louisville, Kentucky. We need a good, violent card with a raucous crowd, and I know we can count on it from them.
Yes, we are due for some violence. I actually bet an over last night, which I guess I should have bet every over last night, but I bet the Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa over 2.5. Wheezy, you know that I don't bet overs often, but I did in that fight. And it wasn't, I mean, it was a Sean Strickland fight. We knew it was going over, and it did. It went the distance.
I cashed that too, dude. I parlayed that with the under 2.5 in the Almeida versus not Romanov. Almeida Romanov. So that one did hit. That was a good parlay there.
Louisville's a dump. Why are people hating on Louisville?
That's only AJ. AJ said Louisville was a dump earlier, and now he's just reiterated. It's only him that says it's a dump.
All right, it's AJ, just AJ. I don't know. I've never been. It's like a 5-hour drive. I don't know. We just try and drive 5 hours to watch this one. I don't know. It's a trip.
It's a long drive, dude.
It is, and I hate driving. So
yeah, me too, dude.
Louisville needs to be like Joe Pyfer, agreed. And Joe Pyfer will be fighting, I think, next week coming up here, or if not next week, the week after. Small but big. Love you, boys. I look forward to Stat Diggers every week. Us fans aren't going anywhere. Appreciate that. Love doing the show with Uncle Weezy. Love you guys hanging out. And sorry we didn't have any hype videos or funny haircut pictures tonight. Maybe we'll save that for next week. All right. So yeah, Weezy, we did it. We went through all 14 fights, which is a ton of fights. We did it. I'm going to be putting the timestamps in after. And I got to head out of here. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you in your plans for this week for some content. I have a busy week. And what do you got going on?
Yeah, this week I've got a nice slow week for me. We will be doing Just the Tip. That'll be a pre-uploaded video this week. I'll be going live for the usual Just the Tip, but it'll be only for my Patreon audience because that show is so long. It's like 2.5 hours. I want to put a much shortened version and a much more digestible version for you guys on YouTube. So look for Just the Tip either Tuesday night or Wednesday afternoon on my YouTube channel. Look for the Greasy 4-Leg Parlay on Friday. And look for Probability. If you are a member of the $25 tier on my Patreon, we do subscriber-only content with Brady and myself where we break down all the plus EV bets on the card. We go fight by fight. We look through the over-under model. We look through the betting model. We talk about our stylistic reads, and we find the best betting lines possible. We found some real doozies last week, like Kopylov by decision at plus 400. Holland by sub at plus 260. We had some good hits last week, but 2 weeks ago it was even better. So please consider joining that $25 tier of the Patreon, and you're going to get access to some incredible subscriber-only content that Brady and I put out every single week for you guys. So appreciate you guys all hanging out. Still 600 people in here, Brady?
608.
My God, thank you. Over 600 people live on Brady's channel. Appreciate each and every one of you. Let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Louisville. Good luck on all your bets. Let's make some money.
Yeah, I have a ton of content this week. It's gonna be overwhelming, especially on a 14-fight card. Gosh. But it is what it is. So tomorrow I'm going live with Clint on the Die Hard MMA podcast on Home of Fight. So that'll be fun. It's been a while since I've been with Clint. Unless I cancel and make Weezy do it. No, I won't do that. I'll be there with Clint tomorrow, Monday, and then Tuesday I'm going to be on Couch Warriors channel. Wednesday got probability with Weezy, and then Friday got the usual final thoughts, and then Saturday got best bets. Yeah, lots of content for UFC Louisville. So yeah, thank you all for hanging out. Like on your way out, subscribe on your way out, and we will see you guys next week. Have a couple really good cards coming up. I'm loving next week's card from a betting perspective. Weston Wilson's on the card against Jekka Saragi. Some other fun fights. We got Jimmy Flick next card, and then we have UFC 303 coming up in a couple weeks. A lot of great fights here in the month of June. Looking forward to it. Best of luck, guys, for UFC Louisville, and we'll talk to you guys later. See you.